minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap
Yes.
Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Tell 'em.
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
woo! You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. I'm your boy MJ. What is good, everybody? Happy Thursday. Ooh, excuse me. If this is your first time tapping in, what is good? Hope you're ready for a great show because I've been waiting for this one for a minute. Hope all my chondro heads are in the building. If you're your first time here, do your boy a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. That way you're on top of every single podcast that I drop here on the Snake Trap Sessions. I drop 4 podcasts a week. No one else doing that in the reptile game, by the way. I drop a vlog every Saturday. I'm very active on the Snake Trap Sessions. So if you hit that notification bell, you'll catch everything that I come out with, and you're not slept on. And then, guys, hit that like button. If you really are enjoying the podcast and you're like, dude, I want to keep hearing more of this shit. Well, if you hit that like button, YouTube puts me in an algorithm that makes me relevant to people who are looking to learn about this shit. And also it's for the guests too. So if you really like the guest, you really like the show, it would mean everything to me if you smash that like button because it is important. But what is good? Look at the early birds, people in the building. Big show tonight. Before we get started, you guys know what the deal is for the freshest and bestest rodents delivered to your doorstep, which I just got. If you see the penguin, you're winning. Coldbloodedcafe.com, $30 flat rate shipping. Excuse me. It's not COVID. But yeah, $30 flat rate shipping. Day one pinks, mammoth rats, Missouri diet into their stomachs, whatever. Fucking good rodents that are fed to your reptiles. That's Cold Blooded Cafe. Shout out to Desiree, shout out to Steven, who are going to be en route to San Diego tomorrow. I get to pick them up from the airport. I have Andrew Acevedo in my living room, passed out. But we had an epic day hanging out, whatnot. But anyways, hang out. We're going to come hang out with us at Pomona, which we'll talk about Pomona right now. But shout out to John and Alex over at Sim Container. If you guys are heading to Pomona, then you guys definitely need to stop by Sim Container's booth so you guys can get yourself an XL or small Sim Container box. I'm telling you right now, eggs belong inside of a Sim box, and everybody will vouch for that. And yeah, if you guys want to see exactly what they got going on as far as their monitors go, then Sim Container is definitely going to be something you'll be interested in because they have monitor game that's on point and they're on top of their shit. So shout out to John, shout out to Alex. Can't wait to hang out with you guys this weekend. It's going to be going down. Shout out to Steven and Ashley over at Focus Cube Habitats. Just got off the phone with Steven today in the works of some major things. Cannot wait, but fuck, man, Focus Cube Habitats just got it going on. They have amazing builds going on. Actually, the guest that we have on tonight helped them with a new design, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But I'm telling you right now, go check out Focus Cube Habitats. Nobody's doing what they're doing. And guess what? Flex in Texas all day, every day. Thank you, Steve and Ashley. I appreciate your guys' support. Freedom Breeder, baby. The stainless steel racks built in the United States never lose their value. Freedom Breeder is the shit. I'm telling you right now, if you got a Freedom Breeder rack, you know exactly where you stand with this. They don't lose value, and they are something that just makes you feel like you're doing things right. So shout out to Jesse, the entire Freedom Breeder crew, killing it. I got some big things in works with Freedom Breeder as well. And yeah, who doesn't love Freedom Breeder? Shout out to Jesse. And who doesn't love this guy, man? Miguel Garcia, even though he's a Cowboys fan, always evolving pythons, killing it, doing big things, always fucking impressing people by the day as far as what he comes out with, his ball python clutches and whatnot. This guy is just on a different level, on so many different levels, if that makes sense. But go give my man a follow, AEP. Check out his morph market. Check out his YouTube. This guy right here is hustling on a different level with these reptiles that not many people are doing. So check him out. It's my boy Miguel Garcia. Shout out to the whole AEP family. Thank you for supporting the trap. You guys are amazing. Speaking about amazing basins, man. Shout out to my boy Alan from Amazing Basins. Got a basin breeder supporting the podcast. And I'm just telling you right now, anyone who breeds basins are built from they're cut from a different cloth. I'm telling you right now, not everyone is on this level when it comes to this shit. My man Alan is. I'm excited for his year. Go give him a follow if you are into basins and you don't follow my boy Alan. And then here you go. Here's your chance to go get put on game. Because I'm telling you right now, there's a select few. Literally, you can count on one hand how many people are doing it with these basins. And you're looking at one of them. It's my boy Alan. Also has amazing ball python projects going down. Go to his Instagram. Go see what it's all about. But I love you, Alan. Thank you so much for your support, bro. Wolfgang Pack all day, every day. And then, guys, US ARC. Let's go ahead and okay, hold on. Before we go to US ARC, you guys know what the deal is this weekend, okay? The Reptile Super Show is going down. I am so excited. Pomona, there's people coming in from all over to go tap into this show, and I cannot wait to tap in. And you guys better be ready because the US ARC auction is going to be going down at Pomona, and that's where a lot of the fun goes down. So I'm telling you right now, if you're going to be going to Pomona, I hope you have plans on hanging out at the US ARC auction. Come kick it. Let's have a good time. You see drinks flowing. It's just amazing. US ARC auction is where fucking like dreams are made. I'm telling you right now. Cannot wait. And I can't wait to tap in with all my trappers, man. And so yeah, Reptile Super Show, Pomona going down, and then we have the NARBC, Arlington, Texas. God damn, what is good, Texas? You guys ready? I cannot wait for our Arlington show. It's going to be amazing. That's a different vibe. I'm telling you right now. If you have not been to an NARBC show, you should make that a huge priority of going to one. I'm telling you right now, especially if you're new into this, you're going to really thank me later if you go to an NARBC. Shout out to Bob Ashley. Shout out to Brian Potter, killing it with these shows for many, many years, as Rami, man. But shout out to these two shows for sponsoring the trap. And then, yeah, guys, US ARC, please, guys, go down to the link below. If you have no idea what US ARC is and you keep reptiles, that's a problem. You guys should definitely read up on them and see how you could help. And yeah, man, US ARC, if you support US ARC, good for you. Let's keep talking about it. Let's keep backing up these people who are leading the fucking US ARC fight right now. And yeah, man, we can't do it by ourselves. It has to be a whole group of us. So fuck the politics. Let's keep our animals. Woo! If you guys need to get a hold of me for any reason, or if you'd like to be like, you know, hey, what does MJ work with? Or does MJ even have reptiles? Well, go check it out. I'm on Instagram, mjexoticscartal with an A, not an E. I got alpacas. I got we got an awesome hot wife. Got some really cool stuff going on my Instagram page. But go check it out. I also go put, a lot of my ball python productions I put out there for sale as well. So yeah, Instagram, mjexoticscartal. Go follow the Trap Talk with MJ podcast page as well on Instagram. Shout out to all my Twitch viewers. If you out there would like to be graceful, I mean, honestly, I love any ounce of support I get, but honestly, there's people out there who like to give me mad support. So if you're one of them and you want to send me a donation, you can shoot that to PayPal at exoticscartal with an A, not an E. And then any super chat that is dropped on not only this episode, but every episode gets sent over to US ARC. So if you have a big question or if you have something that you want to get Ian Bessell's attention on, drop a super chat, and I guarantee that question will be answered for sure. My Patreon members, what is good? If you're out there looking to get more out of these, out of this reptile community, like if you feel like you're not close enough to people and you're like missing out, well then, dude, don't miss out no more. Go down to the Trap Talk Patreon page, join the Trap Talk Patreon family. I got fucking legends. I got born Born to be Legends. I got so much shit going on in my Patreon page that you could benefit from. A Discord. We get together every Sunday. So listen, go check it out. Go down the link below. Come join. If you are going to the Pomona show and you're my Patreon member, I cannot wait to tap in and get you one of your Trap Talk podcast shirts. And it's been a long time since I've gotten these. No, I'm not looking to I'm not swapping shit. Don't ask me to swap anything. I don't do that. I'm just saying, my Patreon members, I got stickers coming to you. Any guest that I have on my show, I have stickers coming to you. That's about it. Close off to the public. That's why I love this. That's why I love my merch. Anyways, guys, what is good? Early Birds is cracking right now. All right, what is good with the Early Birds? Because I know there's a lot of people excited for tonight's show, as I am. And yeah, let's see who's here. Let's see. We have Exotic Keeper Vision. So we have a Southern Florida cat in the house. What is good? Florida in the building. Another Florida cat in the house. 1776 Exotics. What is good? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you have an S&J production. Right, Mike? Am I tripping? Calvin Garcia, what's up? My boy is an up-and-coming chondro keeper / breeder. Big hopes for my boy Calvin Garcia, aka Little Frijole. Cannot wait to see you this weekend, bro. It's gonna be a good time. Patreon family member all day, every day. Patreon member family all day, every day. Right here, the homie Jacob, heavy with the ball pythons, killing it. My boy Central Bullies from UK. We got UK tapping in right now. I don't even know what time it is in the UK, but they're tapping in just to see S&J, and that's what I'm talking about. Thanks for tapping in, bro. I appreciate it. Pacific Rim Serpents, what's up, girl? Thanks for tapping in. Patreon family all day, every day. Genomic Labs, what is good? Thanks for tapping in. Scales and Fins and Feathers, what is good? Thanks for tapping in. Eric's Morph Factory, what is good? Thanks for tapping in. Wise Guy Reptiles, what is good? Thanks for tapping in. Deviant Glass, this guy blows some really, really, really sick glass. Really awesome custom stuff. Go check him out. Thanks for tapping in. South Serpents, what's good? It's my homie Sean, Patreon family member all day, every day. We have Lizard Morphs Australia in the building. Woo, damn. S&J is global. No, it's the Trap. Trap's global. Anyways, man, thanks for tapping in. Appreciate it. Got the homie Reptile Club 310. Cannot wait to tap in with you tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Saturday, Angel. Tapping with you Saturday. What's up, Bruce Carpenter? Bruce Carpenter? Am I saying that right? Bruce Carpenter. What is good, bro? Congratulations on your most recent clutch. I feel like you deserve it for sure. Go follow my man Bruce. I believe, Bruce, you're on Instagram, right? If I'm not mistaken. He is on Facebook. And respect, man. Good shit for you, Bruce. I'm happy for you, bro. Damn, Brandon Wheeler in the building. Brandon, am I going to see you this weekend? Bam, that's my boy right here, Morelia House. Matt Summers. What is good, Matt Summers? Trap Talk travel travel manager. He just makes sure I don't get bit or get hurt anymore. He protects me. It's my boy, Matt Summers. And he's actually in control of all the video and audio shit that goes down on these remote podcasts. That's my boy, Matt Summers. He's behind the scenes on everything. Go give him a follow and go subscribe to his channel, please. Got homie Triple G in the building. I got good feeling about this guy right here, man. That's my boy right here. Go give him a follow. Go Getty Genetics. He has something in the works. Me and him, we got something going on, man. But go give him a follow, man. I'm telling you right now, this fool's gonna be a hitter in the near future. D's Bald Exotics right here, one of my favorite big snake breeders. What is good? I hope you're having a good night, Dylan. Thanks for tapping in. Nate Dogg, what is good? Nate Dogg, thanks for tapping in. Tell me Mason Johnson, what is good? Thanks for tapping in. And let's see, I'm just gonna end it for one more. Okay, perfect. Aurora Exotics, because Aurora is also one of my favorite female trappers. And thanks for tapping in, Aurora. You're amazing. Oh wait, hold on. Antoine Hood. Sorry, cannot pass on Antoine Hood, because Antoine Hood that's Antoine Hood. It's my boy. Antoine, meetup spot. I need you to lock that down because everyone could spot your head easier than anything else. So please, tomorrow morning, Antoine, or maybe tonight, let's figure out the meetup spot, and then we're gonna get wild. You already know the deal. It's my boy Antoine Hood, High Desert Pythons. Go give him a follow. Anything this guy touches is gold. It's my boy right here. Anyways, all right, guys. Whew. I am excited because S&J, this guy, one of the pioneer chondro accounts that I've been following since the fucking beginning. And the thing about Ian, and I don't want to toot his horn too much. This is crazy. I'm already tooting his horn. He's not even here yet. But the guy is fucking consistent with what he does. And plain and simple. And honestly, the only way anyone could last in a game, the arboreal game and the stuff that he's into, is shit that you're good at consistently. And I cannot wait to pick his brain, but he's tapping in on the other side. He's a father. I mean, he's a father of two, big family guy. So it took a lot for him to spend this time with me tonight. And I hope you guys are ready. But here he is, Ian Bessell, S&J Reptiles. I forgot my wine. Hold on. Damn. Okay, I'm going to catch up. What is good, Ian?
Hey man, how's it
Can
going?
you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're coming in a little choppy on my end. Hopefully it's okay. Can you hear me all right?
Why don't we do this? Why don't you just exit out and come back in? And that's probably what why don't you just exit out real quick and just come right back in? It'll reset it. I'll wait.
All right, we'll do. Sounds good.
All right, cool. We'll get there, but dude, okay. Anyways, guys, so me and Ian, like, just to kind of give you a backstory, right? So I've been following Ian for quite a while. He's one of those guys who's been posting chondros on his page for fucking consistently, at least since I've been following him since 2016, 17. But you understand that this guy's posting his own work, like his own production, which is awesome, right? You see so many pages out there, and nothing to bag on any pages that post other people's work. But at the end of the day, it's like, you see a page of someone posting other people's work, and then you see a page always posting their own work. And, Ian Bessell's the guy posting his own work, and to capitalize on all that, Ian Bessell is really good friends with Forrest Fanning. And that's kind of how me and Ian Bessell kind of, it's unfortunate that me and Ian became really good homies after Forrest passed away. But, it was because of Forrest why me and Ian kind of even knew who each other were. But he's taken a really long time to get back in here. I hope he's fine. Oh, here he is. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, I give you your chondro breeder, your favorite chondro breeder's favorite breeder, Ian Bessell. What's up, Ian?
How's it going?
Now you can hear me good. How do I sound okay?
Yeah, let's give it a try now and see if it's better.
All right. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Oh, not too much. It's a nice winter evening here in Florida.
Dude, I waited a long time for this.
Yeah, it's been a while.
What's been new on your end, man? How's everything going? Kind of catch me up. How's everything with the family, first and foremost? Everybody safe? Like, what's going on with you?
Oh yeah, everybody's good. Everybody's good. Kids are in school. Soccer season for both my kids, and yeah, all's good.
So people, I mean, a lot of my Patreon members were asking me, not, asking me, but like, we're curious what the S&J stands for. And if you want to go and let people, I know what it stands for, but do you want to let people know what the S&J stands for?
Sure. So S&J, it stands for my kids. So Samantha and Jonah. It's a kind of a family operation here.
Nice.
Now the kids are old enough, at least we can get them cleaning some tubs and help them feed stuff. But yeah, my wife's involved. She does a lot of our photography and our marketing, and
sweet.
And yeah, the S&J is for the kids.
And I really love how, like, I've talked to you enough to know how you guys operate, and you guys literally all operate as a team. It's really awesome. I've seen Samantha and Jonah do some YouTube channels for you before, and then, obviously your wife with the picture and marketing, and then you're basically the mad scientist with the breeding. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, Samantha likes the camera. Jonah, not so much, but yeah, it's definitely a family effort. It takes a village, as they say. There's never a shortage of things to do.
So I'm always curious because, I do plan on having kids someday, but I never want to force my kid to like anything. What was it like with Jonah and Samantha with the snakes? Like, did they kind of show interest at a young age? Did you put a snake in front of them? How did you how did that work out? I'm just curious.
So, that's kind of funny. So, kids are different, and you can't really compare even your own kids are different than one another. My daughter has wanted to hold and catch and touch every animal she's ever seen since the day she was born. And at the time when she was really young, we had some gray banded king snakes, actually. And she got bit by a snake and stung by a bee in the same week. And so she always kind of wears that as a badge of pride. My son, ironically, was a lot more hands-off, but you'll see, like, there's pictures of my daughter when she was just a little tiny thing in diapers holding a black racer that was probably 3 or 4 feet long, like a wild black racer in our yard. But she's just always, since she was a little kid, wanted to catch and touch everything. My son is a lot more standoffish. He likes to watch her catch stuff.
Right.
He's usually like, well, if someone's going to get bit, it's going to be her, and I'll just stand over here and watch her catch it, and then I'll hold it afterwards. But he got bit by a chondro, was the first snake he got bit by, just a little one, and then he immediately had like a bond for it, or bond with it. He was so worried when it happened that he hurt it somehow, and that snake, if you follow our page, you might be familiar with some of the names that the kids have chosen. But so that snake's name is Feisty Pants, and that snake lives in his room now. And then now, because of that, we have a snake named Feisty Pants' mom, because what would you name the mom of a snake named Feisty Pants? So, yeah, so both the kids, we didn't really force them into it at all. They just naturally have taken to it. And it's not just the snakes. I mean, they just love all animals. But, you know, like our Sanzinia, our Madagascan tree boa, is my daughter, ever since we got them, has called them her cuddly snakes. And right now she wants a blue-eyed leucistic snake because she's got blue eyes. So she wants a snake that matches her, and her room has a lot of blue in it. So yeah, it's something that
there's your guy for your there's your guy for your blue-eyed Lucy right there.
Oh yeah, there's my boy.
Yeah.
What's up, Bill?
Dude, you already have a couple of heavy hitters in the building. You have Bill, and then you have Socrates in the building. Wow, this is heavy.
Socrates, how's it going?
All right, so Ian, I have
the heavy hitter.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, he's on all levels of hitting everything right now. It's ridiculous.
Both those guys, Bill's and Socrates, both with the new upgraded snake rooms, making me itch to want to get a new snake room.
Now, let me ask you this, Ian. You know, because you've been breeding or keeping chondros for how long now? Let's talk about that. How far back does this go?
So the first chondros I got, I want to say were 2004s. So at the time I was living in Gainesville, Florida. I went to the University of Florida, go Gators. And I was just out of graduate school, or maybe I was still in graduate school, I don't recall. But there's a big herp community in the Gainesville area. That's where Eugene Bessell is. That's where Bill Brandt's facility, which is now, which is Gourmet Rodent, which is now owned by Mike and his wife. And then you've also got Bob Guerriere. You just have a lot of reptile people up in that area. And so at the time, Eugene was still keeping a lot of emeralds and a lot of green tree pythons. And a buddy of mine was working, a couple of my buddies were working for Eugene. And so he was producing some chondros. And I got some U.S. captive bred babies from him. And that was really when I started, 2014 or 2004, 2005. I think those were the first couple of years that I got some little neos and started growing them up.
Nice. Okay. And you know what's crazy, Ian, because like, you know, you got to admit, like, not too many people could predict them being chondro breeders. Like, I mean, I don't know, as a kid, even though if you like reptiles, did you ever see yourself being a chondro breeder as an adult? Like, did you ever predict this life at all?
No. And, you know, this is not my full-time job. This is a hobby that's gotten out of control. Hopefully one day, maybe like Bill, I'll be able to retire and this will be my full-time job. But, you know, when I was a kid, I kept a lot of animals. I can't say I ever thought I would be a chondro breeder, but at a young age, I would go through different phases. I had turtles, I had birds, I had snakes, I had aquariums. You know, I just kept a lot of different animals growing up. Basically, whatever I could either smuggle into the house or get my parents to agree to or keep on the back patio. So I was always into different animals. In fact, when I first moved to Gainesville and was in college, I was really more into aquariums. And I remember a buddy of mine, Joe Hyduke, some old-time reptile people might know him. And now he's an aquarium guy, but at the time he was into reptiles. He's like, oh, you need to forget breeding fish. You need to breed snakes. It's so much easier. You don't have to deal with water, and it's easier to ship them and everything else. And so it wasn't something that I always thought from a young age, like, oh, I'm going to grow up to breed chondros. In fact, I'd never even seen a chondro until I was in college, until I was in Gainesville. And so it wasn't something that I really ever foresaw happening. But there was a kid in my dorm that I met probably freshman year, and he had corn snakes in his room. And it was like he had 2 adults, and then he had all these babies, and then he was selling the babies to other kids in the dorm. And I was like, man, that's a really good racket. Like I thought, like, man, like how cool is that? Like he had them under his bed in shoe boxes, and I thought like that's really brilliant. And at the time, like I said, I was really into fish and aquariums, but at some point I just started getting into reptiles more and more, and I actually worked with a lot of other species, a lot of colubrids, Candoya, just a lot of other species, tortoises,
And this
lizards.
is in college, right?
Yeah, yeah. But then it was when I first saw my first chondro, I was like, wow. It was a sarong. I'll never forget it. It was a male import sarong. Just totally traditional, just green snake, blue dorsal.
Where'd you see that at?
Typical sarong. This was at a friend of mine's in Gainesville when I was in college.
And how
when
big
I saw
was
that,
it?
I was like, wow. It was an adult. It was like an import. It was like an adult breeder male, probably like 4 foot, 5 foot. I
Was
don't know.
it mean? Do you remember what how it was like? What the disposition was like with that snake?
Yeah, you didn't want to mess with it after dark. And I remember it was in like a big old school slant face Neodesha cage that Bush Herp used to make back in the day. So I'm dating myself here for some of the guys that know that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was a big adult male import sarong, and I was like, wow, that thing is just amazing. And at the time, I had tons of other snakes. I was big into sand boas and rosy boas and all kinds of colubrids. I had a whole room full of other stuff. And just slowly but surely, I basically got rid of all my other animals and went full into chondros. I was hooked.
Okay, but what was the there had to be something that got you into chondros. Like what was the first like bridge over to you owning your first chondro? Where was that at?
Well, that was in Gainesville. So, seeing chondros and emeralds at Eugene Bassett's place, seeing my first one at this guy's house, that was, the sarong, that was really what got me hooked. And then, like I said, he was breeding them, and so I was able to get some U.S. captive bred babies locally. And so that was sort of.
So you started off with a baby.
Yeah.
Oh, how many did you get off the? How many did you get right off the bat? Like, did you just get one at first, or did you get a few?
Over the course of like probably a year or two, like I probably acquired like maybe 6 or 8 like neos.
But how many did you get? Like, was it just, did you get one at first, or did you get in 2 or 3? Like, how many like did you start with?
It started with one. It always starts with just one. Everyone's like, oh, I'll just get one.
Okay, so that was always
one, and you're like, okay, now I want another one.
So it wasn't like I need to buy a lot of these. You're just like, I just want one, and it turned into the typical buy another is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, well, also, I mean, I was a college kid back then, and so it was like just to be able to buy one was like, wow, like
What did
to
you
have
pay
access
for
to
it?
that locally. I don't remember, but I would guess probably like somewhere around $500 maybe.
Damn, that's what's up. And okay, and do you kind of remember the lineage of the snake or anything? Like, anything you could talk about with the background with that snake?
I don't remember. I have to go back and look it up. It may have been related to that sarong for all I know. So this friend of mine in college, he had a bunch of, like I said, he was working for Eugene. He had a bunch of chondros, and every time he had a clutch, I was like, oh, I'll save up and buy one of those. So I just like bought, a bunch of them over the course of like maybe 2 or 3 years or something. And so that was kind of like the first animals. And then that was in 2004, 2005, maybe 2006. And then from there, like, then I was done with college and I moved and I got married, and those snakes, I grew up for a long time, but those were the very first group of animals that I worked with. All U.S. captive, born and bred.
And when did you meet your wife?
Ooh, let me think. I think 2006, maybe 2006, 2007.
And this
somewhere
is
around there. I think
that's
2006.
after college, right?
Oh yeah, this was after college.
Okay, and when you met her in 2006, where were you at with the chondros? How many did you have? Like, where were you? Like, what was your position then?
So that's kind of a funny story. So I was living in Gainesville. I was done with graduate school, but I was actually working for an animal feed company, and so I was traveling a lot. And I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and she came over to my apartment for the very first time, and I had, I don't know, tortoises and bearded dragons and geckos and aquariums, all kinds of crazy stuff. But it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and the second bedroom, the door was closed, and she's like, "What's in that room?" And before I could even say anything, like she just opened the door and walked in. And like she kind of like looked around and then like closed the door, and she didn't go screaming and running out of the apartment. So I was like, all right, I guess everything's okay. And at that point, I probably had a snake collection. It was probably like 200 animals in that room. Like I said,
Damn.
it was a lot of sand boas, a lot of rosy boas, a lot of colubrids. I was really into pituophis and locality corn snakes, especially like the Keys corns and some different types of Nerodia. So it was literally like a whole room, floor to ceiling, wall to wall, nothing but colubrid racks basically. And so, you know, like that was sort of at the very beginning of our relationship. And then, you know, we sort of joke like the year that we got married, I went to Costa Rica, we went to Alaska, and we went to Hawaii on our honeymoon, all financed by snake money, basically. So, you know, she was all right with it from the very beginning.
Okay, so I mean, at what point, Ian, was the whole breeding thing an importance to you? Like, as far as like you looking at your year and be like, all right, I need to put him with her, and you know all that stuff. And we're talking about the, you know, no offense, I don't give a shit about the colubrids right now. I'm worried about the chondros right now. I love colubrids, don't get me wrong, but you're a chondro fucking savage. So let's talk about as far as when you were looking at projects. Like, when did you actually start building, you know, your empire that you have right now?
So that really came a lot later. So when I left Gainesville, I sold a big part of my collection, and so really sold most of my snakes, actually, most everything before I left Gainesville. Just kept a few select things, and I had, at that point, I think I had half a dozen chondros maybe, and moved down to Miami. And then we were in Miami for a few years, and then we moved up to Palm Beach County, West Palm Beach. And
Right.
when we did, I basically, I was busy. I was getting married. I was working on my career. I was becoming a father. And one day, my wife came in and she said, "What are you going to do with those chondros? Are you ever going to put them together?" And that was in
Wow, a
2000.
wife said that? She's legend.
Yeah, yeah. Because I just had these 6 chondros and I had these PVC cages in the corner, and I just had 2 stacks of cages. And I mean, at that point, like, I mean, we still had turtles and other just random reptiles around the house. And so let me think, like, if I got my first chondros in 2004, 2005, those were maybe a few into 2006. And then the first year that I bred chondros was 2014. So you can do the math of how old those animals were by the time I even
Start
thought
breeding
about
them.
pairing them up.
Now,
Yeah.
and now, like, you're gonna totally back me up on this, but like, here's the thing, man. Like, what works for chondros when it comes to breeding them? Maturity, right? Like, that's your best bet is a mature chondro before breeding. Would you agree or disagree?
I mean, I think that's the key with any species, quite frankly. I think
Right.
we're always in a rush to breed them, like everyone. I mean, we're always itching to breed them as soon as possible. And, you know, think about a human being. A human being can breed a lot earlier than your 20s. And we don't generally want people having babies in their, you know, in their teens.
Cheers.
So,
Cheers.
yeah, there you
Cheers,
go.
Bill. Hey,
Cheers.
you know, Bill's drinking for sure, 100%.
So it's definitely maturity, and maturity not just for the females. A lot of people always focus on like how old's the female because she's got to have follicular development, and you know, for the males as well. It's definitely the older they are when you start. I think you know, generally is a good thing, and don't let age either. I mean, so this, let me see if I can do this. This snake over here, can you see this one over here? That's Bertha.
Yeah.
That's like a 25 to 30-year-old Biak, wild import. And that snake is, I mean,
30
you know,
years old?
she's not, yeah. She's retired, and she's definitely geriatric. She's a tail hanger. She doesn't like to poop, but that's between a 25 and 30-year-old female Biak chondro.
Okay, you know what's funny is like, okay, you know, rest in peace, Forrest Fanning, our boy, which, as I was mentioning, what brought us closer together, you and I, was Zoo Dreams right there. You know, the fact, I don't know, Forrest definitely brought us together because let's see, we hung out and met together at the Anaheim show. It was the Anaheim Reptile show, right?
It was the Anaheim Reptile show, January 2020, right before the world shut down. And actually, Brandon, who's on, you said, Brandon was there. You were there. Mauricio was there. Brandon's wife was there. Riley was there. There was a whole bunch of people. Dan was there. Brian Cusco was there. A whole bunch of people. That was the first time you and I met.
Now, that being said, I don't even know where the fuck I was going with that. Hold on. We were talking about, okay. Why we met, basically. Now, as far as us, oh my God, I don't know. I brought up Forrest. God, my mind just fucking went blank. God damn it. This happens. We're talking about Forrest. We met. Maturity. I'm fucking lost. I'm not gonna lie. I completely lost it. But okay, let's just go. I remember. Okay. All right. So Forrest, right? God bless him. Rest his soul. But he fucking was so real. Like, when you were talking to Forrest about shit, and especially when things weren't too good on his end of the stick, like if he went through a hard loss with the snake, he would just be real as fuck with you on how he felt about certain things. And he would always tell me, he's like, dude, you're not going to be able to keep a chondro alive. Like, if you're getting an import chondro, it's going to be dead in 5 years. Like, he'd be so like, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And was saying that there's so few people that know how to keep an import chondro to get it past beyond 5 years. And at the end of the day, like, I feel like he's right, because as many imports that do come in, they all don't stick around for too long. Not everyone really knows how to acclimate and really keep a fucking import living up to 30 years. Because, I mean, you got that snake when it was how old? Do you remember? Are you good at math?
Oh, you're cutting in and out on me again. I lost you a little bit there.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. I got you back. You were cutting in and out a little bit for me.
It's okay. But how long have you had that snake for already? That 30-year-old wild caught?
The audio is cutting in and out. Should I try to go out and come back in again?
Yeah. Exit out. Okay. No. Okay. So where I'm getting at with this is as I was getting imports and stuff like that, Forrest would fucking literally scare the shit out of me. Like, chances are these snakes that you're buying are going to die on you. And, a lot of them are, if not all of them, are still here. Thank God. But I'm just curious as far as what Ian does or what he did to acclimate his imports when he would get them in and whatnot. But hopefully the audio is good here. Let's see. What's up, Ian? You here?
Yep. Now I got you back.
So basically what I'm trying to get at real quick, Ian, is obviously if you know how to get an import acclimated and on good health. You've done that plenty of times. Am I right?
So, a lot of my animals are U.S. captive born and bred. I don't ever claim to be an expert with anything with these animals, to be honest. The one thing I've learned about keeping chondros for all this time is that they keep you humble, and
right.
They teach you new ways. I often joke they constantly invent new ways to kill themselves. So it seems like they literally are they're very, very challenging for a reason. And so I don't want to profess to be an expert in anything. And the thing about imports is it's very hit or miss. Some imports, like Bertha, can live to be 25, 30 years. By the way, I haven't had her that entire 25 or 30 years, but she has been here, I think, for about 5 or 6 years.
Nice.
But, when you start with an import versus a U.S. captive born bred animal, you have no way of knowing what you're starting with. It doesn't mean that they're all going to be dead in 5 years, but Forrest probably had a point that a large majority of them probably were, and especially when you think about the large numbers of BIOCs that are brought in that are sold to people who have no idea what they're getting into, and they think they're going to keep it in an 18 by 18 Exoterra or a 10-gallon tank with a screen top and a heat light. So when you take all those numbers into consideration, yeah, probably right. Probably most of those don't make it to be 5 years old. But
yeah,
it's not that import animals are bad animals, but you have to understand what you're getting into. If you're buying an import animal and you're buying an import animal, then you can take it to the vet, you can run a fecal, you can test it for nido, you can screen it for parasites, you can rehydrate it. You can acclimate it, and you can be successful with it. Doesn't mean every one of them is going to be successful, but doesn't mean everyone's going to die. But when you start with a U.S. captive born bred animal, you know at least that you're starting with a clean slate. So it's, I don't know, it's akin to buying a used car versus a new car. You buy a new car with 10, 15 miles on it right out of the showroom, you know it hasn't been through the program, so to speak. You buy a car with 20,000 miles on it, even though it looks nice, you don't know what, you know, what's going on under the hood, so or what it's been through. So I'm sure life out in the jungle in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea is not easy for any animal. And so when these animals are plucked off a tree and stuck in a water bottle and shipped halfway around the world, at the very least, just stress alone, you know, a large number of those animals probably come in just very poor condition that no matter who they go to, they're not going to be, you know, they're not going to have a long life in captivity. But I think the big problem is more when people buy animals and they don't know. You know, they go to a show and they buy something labeled farm bred or captive bred,
but
they think that's what they're getting.
That's what's happening right now. Like, that's the more common introduction into the chondro game for a lot of these new up and coming breeders, because you got to understand, Ian, like, you know, I've sent people to you. I've a lot of people who come to you don't realize there's a wait list and that they're going to pay well over $1,000 for this animal because it's captive born and bred here in the United States. And, you know, when they first initially go that route research wise, and then they happen to walk at a pet store or they happen to walk at a fucking reptile show and they see a CBB yellow Neo for $300, they're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm saving $1,000 right now. And, you know, they think all these high hopes and stuff like that. But let me ask you this, Ian, since this is the realistic side of people getting introduced into the game, as far as chondros, you know, as far as, you know, new breeders go, if this was you right now with the knowledge that you had and you were to purchase an import, what would be your route to do that? Like, let's just say you're at a show, you see a chondro that you like, you're like, fuck, I like this, and you know it's an import. What would you do?
So basically, you've got the 3 Qs of buying an import animal: quarantine, quarantine, quarantine. So the first thing is quarantine. Like, if you're going to bring an animal, I mean, it doesn't really matter captive bred or import or green tree python or ball python or anything. If you're going to buy an animal at a show, you better be prepared to bring it home and quarantine it, whether it's a lizard, a turtle, a snake, a frog, whatever it is, even a fish. Like, you just got to know, like, quarantine, quarantine, quarantine. With a chondro, quarantine is important. Hydration is important. Again, it doesn't matter if it's a U.S. captive bred or not. You know, but I think that the first thing I would tell people who are going to a show and thinking about buying a chondro is, if you really want to buy a chondro, don't buy it at a show. Do your homework, do your research. You don't have to buy it from me. Just find a breeder. There's a lot of breeders around the country who produce U.S. captive born and bred animals. Get on their wait list. You may have to wait a little while. But if you really want to get a quality animal, go that route as opposed to buying something impulse at a show. Because if you think about the reason you don't see a lot of U.S. captive born and bred chondros at shows, one of the reasons is because it's really stressful on those animals to take them to a show. So even if you get a U.S. captive born and bred animal at a show, it's going to be stressed out because it's at a show. You know, you think about how many people it's got to be around. So, but if you're at a show and you're going to buy something and you already have, you better quarantine it. I would recommend that you get it a vet check, at the very least, a fecal exam and a NIDO test. But quarantine is really important. And some people think like quarantine is a week on the opposite side of the room, but quarantine means like a completely different room. Really, it should mean a minimum of 90 days. The animal should be able to, you know, should be eating and have good bowel movements and get a good shed, and you should get a vet check and a fecal done. And if things come back on the fecal, which usually with imports they will, at least some, you know, protozoa or something, they're going to need to be treated for parasites and then retested. And that's really what the big differential in price is when you're buying an import, is because you just got to still do all that work, and that takes time, and there's some expense to it as well.
Now, as great as this information is that you're doing, understand that all this is going to go in one year and out the other, and somebody's still going to buy a Neo at a show, plain and simple. So let's just help somebody out in the situation where you buy an import. What are your protocols? Like, what are stuff that you do exactly as far as when you first take in an import into your collection? Like, can you just kind of walk us through your steps?
So, like I said, quarantine, obviously.
But like how? But like how? Like do you put it over paper? Like, kind of explain how you're quarantining the animal.
So you want it in as simple a setup as possible. So definitely, for me, what I would do is paper towel. Because paper towel allows you to go ahead and see if it's got any mites. Because if it's got mites, you're going to see them on the paper towel. I would do either a clear or light colored water bowl for the same reason, because if you got mites, you're going to see them in the water bowl. You definitely want to check that animal over for mites before you even put it in the cage. And on a chondro in particular, you want to look around the eyes and the nose. Patrick Holmes in Texas, is real good at looking at the eyes in particular. That guy Patrick down in that state, down south. What's up, Patrick?
Hey, real quick.
Around the eyes.
Hold on, Ian. Let's just get this out of the way. What is it with you feeling like Florida breeders are rallying up against the Texas breeders, and you feel like Florida's holding the weight? You're basically saying that the Chondro championship belt is wrapped around Florida right now, and it's not wrapped around Texas. Is this true?
Well, I don't want to go knocking my brothers in Texas or anything, but I think for a long time the Chondro belt was held by the guys in Colorado and by a lot of the guys in the Mid-Atlantic, Rico in Tennessee. You had guys like Tim Morris and Trooper Walsh and others in Maryland, and I just think it's time for the South to get some respect. And Texas definitely has a lot of. Everything's bigger in Texas, and the Chondro community is big in Texas as well. And they sometimes let me call myself an honorary Texan when it comes to the Chondros. But I just think Florida's got a lot of
Texas for sure. When I first met you, when I first saw your account, I thought you were from Texas for some reason.
Well, Florida's got a lot of Chondro breeders as well, and some pretty awesome stuff going on in Florida. But I just think between Florida and Texas, we're representing the South. That's for sure.
All right, we'll get back to this topic, but back to quarantine, what we were explaining. I'm sorry, Ian, I didn't mean to get you off a topic there.
No, that's all right. I just think so. First thing, check for mites. Second thing, hydration. Really, really important. Everybody's always so quick to want to feed an animal when they get it, especially a new animal. I think hydration way more important. If it's a Neo, a lot of times you can even keep them in a tub over water initially, just to really guarantee that you're getting hydration. Hydration at that point in the first few days is, in my opinion at least, probably way more important than food, if anything. So I think check them for mites, hydration, and then when that animal's comfortable and you see the signs, then offer it food. A lot of times if it's in a cage, a PVC cage, you cover the front of it so they can't see you, so they don't get freaked out every time you walk by or they see a shadow. Certainly in a rack, that helps also kind of cut down on how much they can see. But Eugene Bissett always would say you have to be a student of the serpent. So I'm a big believer in that. You got to just read the animal. You can't just. There's no recipe. There's no magic recipe to keeping or breeding chondros. And I think a lot of people look for that. They want to know, everything follows this pattern and everything. They all do it this way on this many days and this temperature. And there's a lot of ways to do it that you can be successful. But you just have to read the animal. So I think when you get an animal in, you put it in quarantine. Quarantine can be a smaller than usual cage as well. It doesn't have to be a big cage right off the bat. A lot of times with chondros, especially smaller ones, they do better smaller tubs than they will in a big PVC cage to start with. The big thing is just to get them comfortable.
Another thing that you see sometimes on the Facebook groups are like people who get their first chondro and dump it into like a fucking focus cube habitat, which good selection, you know what I mean? But like exposing a neo to that much space and all that with substrate, I feel like when you're first getting it in is just, it's just too much. I feel like, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I feel like people have different, I don't know. That's the way to go.
This is all you need for a
Right.
neo. This is it. It's like
Yep.
it's a shoebox.
Yep.
You literally don't need anything more than that. And when you give them more than that, for whatever reason, they freak out. They freak out.
Now, what are your temps for your neos compared to your adults? Like, can we talk about that, or are they the same?
So neos generally I keep a little bit warmer. I also keep them a little bit wetter. I spray them a lot more, and I don't give them a night drop. So basically, all my neos are in Sea Serpent's shoebox racks. So shout out to Chris at Sea Serpents. He's another local Florida guy, and so he's driving distance, so it's very convenient, and he makes good stuff. And so I've got just a bunch of those Sea Serpents, just hatchling racks with those shoe boxes, and every baby chondro starts in one of those.
Okay. And then as far as, if it's one thing that I feel like, I don't know, I remember about 2 years ago when I got my last chondro clutch, you were helping me out with a lot of things that you do yourself. And the thing with you, Ian, whatever you do now, you've been doing for quite a while. Am I right? Or have you switched up things throughout the last few years?
So I think that it's been a constant evolution. Things constantly change. I continue to learn more. I still sometimes feel like a newbie. These animals, they keep you humble, and we definitely don't have it all figured out. At least maybe I'm a slow learner, and I don't know. Since 2004 when I started, I haven't figured it out. It's been almost 20 years, and you're constantly learning new things, and not only that, but refining things. So getting better at things. One of the big things that I changed about the way that I breed chondros, at least how I deal with females, is I stopped using nest boxes, and that was a big dramatic change for me. You stopped
using nest boxes. Did you see what happened to Marshall? God bless him.
I did. So it was Gary Scavino up in New Jersey who taught me the trick about not using nest boxes, and so I stopped using them completely. I just don't use them. Maybe the other thing that hasn't, but so that's something that has changed over time as I've learned more. Something that hasn't changed is I'm a sprayer. Like I know there's people who spray chondros, people who don't spray chondros. I spray chondros. I've always sprayed chondros. I don't know. I have a hard time not spraying them. In fact, I spray all my arboreals. Now, baby chondros get sprayed a lot more often than other animals in my collection, and also depending on the time of year. But I just, I like spraying. Oh yeah, there's Marshall. I saw that.
So let me ask you.
He thinks that those eggs look all right, though. Some of them.
Yeah, I already. So check this out. I'm gonna lie. All right, Marshall, this is for you. You ready? So I'm a fucking gangster at predicting shit. Like, just so you know, Ian, I'm really good. If I predict something, hey, Brandon Wheeler. Give me right now. Brandon Wheeler, back me up. But if I visualize something, I call the shots. Okay. Like I'm telling you, it's what I predict. And I don't know. I didn't get to really stare at this situation too hard, but I could tell you right now, I do see double digits in this man's future. I think at least 10 of these eggs are going to make it. But before we get to that, I'm just curious. Okay. So look, he used an egg box. Clearly she's not comfortable with the egg box. She laid him there on the floor. What do you do? Like, now that you don't use an egg box, where does she typically lay for you? Does she lay on the floor, coiled up? Where does she normally lay the eggs?
So, my experience was similar to Marshall's. I've had them lay them off the perch. I've had them lay in the water bowl. I've had them lay in the nest box and not sit on them. I've had them scatter them all over the cage. And so at the time I was traveling a lot for work. And it was really hard for me to guess, like, when is she going to lay? Am I putting the nest box in too early, too late? Is she going to go in it? Is she not going to go in it? And so Gary posted this method he uses which is no nest box. And so basically, kind of like Marshall's got there, you fill the bottom of the cage with sphagnum. And as you get closer, you remove all but the lowest perch. And then at night, you remove the water bowl as well. And so basically the whole cage becomes a giant nest box. So at that point, she can lay them wherever she wants. It's one big nest box. And what I do is I put one of those half pine log hide.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Like Zoom Med or somebody makes them. It's like a half a log. There's pictures of it on my page.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull your
I
page
just
up right
every time that I've done it, the female always lays under the log, or like in the corner, she'll just curl up under the sphagnum. But I've never had one spill eggs all over since I gave up on the nest box.
All right, go follow my boy right now, S&J Reptiles, killing it, been killing it, and we're gonna kind of dip through some of his stuff here. But what I want to show is the way his chondros nest in what he's talking about. So I know you have something here. I'm gonna go pull it up real quick.
Yeah, there should be something on our page
now.
It might be on the videos.
While I'm pulling this up, can we talk about when your first when you got your first clutch? How long has it been?
So first clutch was 2014. Yeah, there's a picture of one on eggs. So that's just underneath the little log.
Right.
Yep.
2014.
So 2014. Yep. So I had those animals that were 2004s, 5s, and 6s, and I grew those animals up until 2014. And that was the first year that I paired, and ironically I ended up with 3.3, so I had 3 pairs, and 2 of those 3 pairs went that year for me, and I ended up with 2 clutches.
Wow. Okay, so you ended up with 2 clutches, and as far as what did those 2 clutches put you through? What was the ringer like? Was it pretty easy or was it difficult?
No, it was a disaster. So I didn't have an incubator set up. I'm trying to remember if I recall correctly.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. We'll watch. This is Ian busting it out. Hell yeah. Okay, so you got sphagnum moss all over the floor, and you just put the wood hide in the corner there, and that's it.
On the cool side,
on the cool side. Okay,
so
on the cool side.
Yes, it's on the cool side. It's not under the heat panel, and that's like anywhere from like 4 to 6 inches of sphagnum. It's like really fluffed up, so it's really thick. So she's like buried down in there. Yeah, I dampen the whole. So first, there's paper towel on the newspaper on the very bottom of the cage.
Okay.
That kind of acts a little bit like a sponge, like gives it some absorbency as well.
Right.
And then I'll spread out like a bunch of sphagnum, like several inches thick. And then as I'm spreading it out, I just spray it down with a little bit of water, mix it up, spread it, until it's nice and thick, a big fluffy layer. And then I put the log on the cool side and take all the other perches but the bottom one away, take the water bowl away, and every single time they lay under that log or they lay in a corner right next to it.
And then they go in here.
Yep, so that's the Sea Serpent's hot box. That's the 48-inch model. Every chondro that I have ever produced was hatched in one of those units. So that first year, I didn't have an incubator set up, and I was so excited about the female laying that I wanted to get in and take pictures of her as she was like laying and sitting on the eggs, and so I disturbed her. And then she came off the eggs and wouldn't go back on the eggs. So I obviously panicked and ended up taking those eggs over to a friend of mine, a fellow chondro keeper, reptile breeder, Eric Chung Reptiles, is local here by me. Yeah. And he had a 48-inch hot box set up because he breeds ball pythons and other stuff. And so I ran the eggs over to his place, and we ended up actually hatching them out over at his house. And ever since then, every chondro I've ever hatched has been in 48-inch Sea Serpent's hot box.
Awesome. So let's talk about the process here. So obviously the chondro hatches out. You keep them together until the first shed, or do you separate them right off the bat?
So I keep them, and I'll actually move the eggs into what I call a hatch out tub, and I'll keep them in that hatch out tub in the incubator for a few days, and part of it is a judgment call. It depends on how active they are. It depends on how much yolk they have that they're dragging around. and kind of what their demeanor is. But for me, I'm somewhat non-traditional in a number of the ways that I work with my chondros. And one of the things that I do is I offer food before they shed. And it doesn't always work, but I have had a high degree of success in offering fresh hatch neonate chondros first meal prior to shed.
So that's your go-to then. You always, for the most part, just offer a chondro post first shed, right? Or no, pre first shed. Okay. Now,
so I'll leave them in the incubator for a few days, then I'll set them up in individual tubs and frozen thawed usually.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because some people are very anti feeding a chondro before it's shed or almost any snake. Because, one of the, I don't want to tell you why, but I just, I know that a lot of people rather feed a snake after it's first shed. But let me ask you this, with how you do it, right? How much stress are you putting on the snake? Are you seeing if it just gives you like strikes right off the bat, or are you sitting there for like 30, 45 minutes trying to get it to eat?
No, I just have found that I think that before that first shed that they can't see really well. I think that they've got really poor visibility because they've got, all of that dried up egg stuff on top of that first shed that they're going to come out of. And I don't think that they see really well. And I think one of the things that people misunderstand about baby chondros, about neonates, is that for the most part, it's not a food response strike that gets them to eat. It's usually a defensive strike. And so I have just found that when you offer them food before that first shed, it's really, really easy to get them to strike. I often find that they strike when they're in the hatch out tub. And so I'm like, man, if I had a pinky, that thing would have just totally grabbed it because it's striking at my hand. And so a lot of times it's a defensive strike with a neonate chondro for usually a lot of times it's several weeks, several rounds of feeding that they're actually eating. Their feeding response starts from a defensive strike. And so I just found that offering them food, it doesn't work for all of them. And sometimes if you wait too long and they're too close to that first shed, then they won't even strike. But I just find that if I do it early enough that I get a large number of them that will give me a defensive strike. And when they grab that hot frozen thawed pinky from Cold Blooded Cafe, by the way, they just have that feeding response. Yeah, they just grab it and coil it, and it tends to get them started. And I'm a big believer in getting food in baby chondros as quickly and as early as possible. Yeah. I think myself included, when you're not as experienced and you're just starting out, you're like, oh, I need to give them time, or oh, they'll come around, or I just need to wait till it's hungry. They need food in them, and again, it's just my personal experience, and it's what works for me. The sooner I get food in them, the better. And a lot of times, if I can't get them to take a whole pinky, and they're striking, I can almost always get them to take a pinky head.
Okay, let me ask you this though, because in reality, you do have those stubborn motherfuckers that just don't want to eat. You have the runners, quote unquote. So when you're dealing with a difficult neo that just does not want to eat, no matter what it's doing, it just won't take. How long do you wait before you assist feed it?
Not that long. I don't like to wait. I like them to get food in them as soon as possible. And for the most part, like if they're going to be a runner and they're not going to, if I can't even get them to strike at anything, scented or otherwise, like I'm going to get a pinky head in them before too long. I don't like to.
Give me an idea. Long. Like after the shed, or do you do it before it's shed? Like how do you when are you actually putting the pinky head? No, if they don't eat within a week or two of shedding, they're getting a pinky head. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now,
and again, my disclaimer to all of this is, I am by no means an expert. Like, I'm not a doctor. I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night, what works for me may not work for everybody. And there's a lot of ways to do it. So one of the things that I always profess is that, just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And just because it works for me doesn't mean that there's not 10 other ways to do it, and there might be better ways to do it. So I don't ever try to claim that, my way is the only way to do it or is the best way to do it. I just know what has worked well for me and what has not worked well for me. And what has not worked well for me is being patient. I feel like when I'm patient with baby chondros and I say, I'm going to wait them out, or I'm going to let them have some more time, or they need to get hungry or whatever, they just go downhill. They don't have as much energy, and they just don't have as much fight in them. And when I get more aggressive and I get food in them earlier and more consistently, especially right at the beginning, they're just much more successful.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. When it comes to the point where a neo that's being assessed, I mean, how long would you assist a neo for, or what's the longest you've assist fed a neo for?
Usually when you're assist feeding them, it doesn't take that long. Unless there's something wrong with an animal, unless it's got a kink or a deformity, or there's something else underlying going on with that animal, then normally they come around pretty quickly. You get just a few pinky heads in them. I would say maybe 3 to 6 times, and then almost always they come around. It seems like at that point they either come around or they go downhill real quick and they end up in the freezer collection, so to speak. But it doesn't usually take very long. It's just really like something that you just want to jumpstart them and get them going.
I'm surprised you said the FC word, freezer collection. I didn't think you were going to drop that.
Unfortunately, I think it's sort of a rite of passage to be a chondro breeder is to put chondros in the freezer.
Hey, what's one body part you get rid of when you get into the chondro game? Your heart.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of the old time breeders. There's a lot of jokes, but what's the best way to breed chondros and end up with $2 million? I'm sorry, best way to breed chondros and end up with $1 million.
I don't know.
Start with $2 million. So chondros, everybody thinks chondros is like a get rich quick thing, and it's really just a labor of love. It's something that you do because you enjoy it, because it's definitely, there's got to be easier ways. It's not a species for everybody, and if it were easy, then everybody would breed them.
Here's the thing with chondros, right? You have so many things that could go in your favor, and shit could still not work out. And let me explain that. You could come across, like in my situation, let me tell you how I got my first clutch, right? I got a well mature import sarong female in, had her for a year, and then I got a 2-year-old sarong male in, had him for a year, and then basically 2 years of me being in this game, I paired those snakes up, and I got my first clutch, right? But this clutch was scattered all over the floor. It was like a Marshall Mendez situation, scattered all over the floor. She laid 16 of them. 16 immediately went down to like 2. Like by the next morning, they were like all fucking just, I don't know. I just was not prepared, but that was super humbling, because you gotta understand, I was told, hey man, those snakes aren't probably going to go for you. Those snakes, you're probably not going to get anything. A lot of people were telling me like, don't expect anything. But when I saw eggs, I thought, oh, this is for sure going to happen. But no, even eggs doesn't mean shit. Even them coming out of the egg doesn't mean shit. Like there's so many roads of head before you could even say, oh, I'm in a good place with this. You know what I mean? And like, people don't know that until they're in that situation. Like I have to check some of my Patreon members because they get all like, oh, this shit's going to be fucking easy. What? No, it ain't. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you want to see my freezer? I'll show you easy. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking, dude, you check out. Like, there's things inside of you that check out when you get into the chondro game, mentally and inside your, you just have to check out and accept death.
Yeah, unfortunately, chondros keep you very humble. I tell people all the time that breeding chondros is the easy part, actually.
Yeah, right. Getting
You
egg.
know,
I mean, like it could that could happen. Like it's the whole process afterwards. Like I mean, I feel like
the
even
hard part starts at when you get eggs. Yeah,
right, exactly. Now, I mean, let me ask you
yeah.
this, Ian. How long have you been selling snakes for? Like, what? I mean, obviously, breeding is one thing, but how long have you actually been selling S&J Productions for chondros? We're talking about chondros right now.
So, I mean, selling and breeding snakes, like I said, that goes all the way back to, to college days. But S&J, we didn't start until, gosh, I don't even know. It might have been 2016, 2017. First clutch of chondros was 2014. And then it's been consistently every year we have hatched out chondros since 2014. And it wasn't, the first couple of clutches were, I had a lot of heartbreaks. I had a lot of bad eggs. I had a lot of slugs. I had a lot of dead an egg. I had a lot of babies that I couldn't start. I had, they're just, like you said, every problem that you can imagine. And so over time, I refined things and got better and better. But I can't remember what year we started S&J. I guess I would have to go back and look. But that was probably, I want to say maybe 2016, 2017, somewhere around there.
Bro, this Lira, bro, this is unreal. What is this? This is a back in 2016. What's the deal with this yellow Neo right here?
Yeah, so like I was telling you before, they seem to invent new ways to kill themselves. So that's an import Lara that I raised up from a Neo, and actually paired her last year and got slugs, and then paired her again this year, and she died of a ruptured oviduct when she ovulated. So that was just
Right.
a few weeks ago, actually. So unfortunately, that was an animal that I came in one morning and she was just unfortunately dead on the bottom of the cage, with basically the morning after she was ovulating.
Damn.
Yeah,
Crazy.
but
Now,
really killer animal.
Now, I mean, let me ask you this. How much of interest or importance is locality stuff to your projects? Because, you have people who are like the Marshall Mendezes who are just fucking straight visual. Like, I want the sickest shit to be bred together. And then you have, Patrick Holmes who are diehard, pure locale guys in whatnot. But where do you stand? Like, or what's going on with your projects in that,
So I mean, I'm full on addict. Like I love them all. I like pure locality animals. I like designer animals. I just think all chondros are awesome. And the thing about chondros is there's hardly ever two that are the same. So it's like, you gotta have a lot of them to even represent half of what the phenotypes are. So
Right.
I really am, I guess I have one foot in both camps. So I have quite a bit of designer animals, but I also have a lot of locality and locality cross animals. And I've got projects for both. I've got both projects that are on the designer side and the locality side.
Drop some
So
locality.
this year we
A couple locality projects. What are some of your locality projects?
So last year we produced purebred Arus.
Nice.
So you might know my pairing Crandon and Biscayne. Pictures on my page of those two together. And I've been working on that project for a couple of years now. So that Aru female had produced for me a few years back, I think 2017 maybe. And then I was able to get a male Aru from John Crickmer in Texas, actually, another Texas guy. And
Nice.
I had those two paired on and off for like 2 years, maybe longer. And then finally she took. And so purebred Arus, pretty excited about those.
Nice.
I've got a purebred or a locality, a Jayapura locality project that I'm working on, but those are still pretty young, just a couple years old. So that's kind of a long-term project. I've also got a locality, a Biak project going. I've got a male that's from Patrick Holmes, another Texas animal, and
Yep.
and that female, Feisty Pants' mom that I mentioned earlier, is a Biak, an import that has produced quite a few clutches for me. So I've got a couple locality projects going. I wouldn't mind adding some more, but as you know, locality animals are hard to find, and not only that, but as you can see, I don't have a lot of free empty space, empty cages. I'm pretty full up. I need to build a brand new snake room like Bill or Socrates or Marshall in order to get more projects going.
Is this one of the pairs we're talking about here?
Yes, that's the Aru pair.
Oh my God, look at
And
that.
she gets super hormonal blue. Yeah, she's just like totally blue, and she keeps that a lot of that blue now. She's produced twice for me.
That is so dreamy. I love that color. Now let me ask you this, Ian. What's your regiment as far as, like, you know, if a female lays for you, how long do you wait until you pair her back up again? Do you always give them a year off, or what do you do?
No, again, student of the serpent, you got to read the animals. So, you know, that female there, that Aru female, like I said, she produced for us, I think I want to say 2017, but several years, multiple years between her first clutch and her second clutch. But then I have a Biak female, the one I mentioned before, Feisty Pants' mom.
Right.
I think she's produced like 4 out of the last 5 years or something crazy like that. You know, and she just bounces back and recovers really fast. So every animal is different. Some animals need a year off. Some animals need more than a year off. Some animals bounce back really fast and are able to produce back-to-back years. I think one of the things that I've learned with working with chondros is that there's just no magic recipe. They're not all the same. You got to really look at each individual animal to judge when they're ready. And you can tell. I mean, you know, the females, they get those big fat reserves on the top of their head. They start looking kind of chunky. They get ravenous. I mean, like, you know, you can tell an animal that is ready to breed based on, you know, body condition. And then, now, don't get me wrong, you can get these animals obese and overweight, and that's not a good breeding condition either. But when you have an animal that you've bred, especially one that you've bred multiple times, you can just tell. You can tell when they're ready. I think the other thing that I'm doing more now than I have before is looking at their shed cycle also. So unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of having an ultrasound machine. It's something I'd like to look into getting here.
What do you mean? Future, are you sure? Are you? Wait. Are you sure? Because I could have sworn you're like, you know, you use Sock's ultrasound machine pretty.
Oh
so
yeah.
It's kind of like you
Socrates
do have one.
Came in, yeah. Well, he came and we ultrasounded. I don't think we ultrasounded any chondros though. I think we only ultrasounded some boas. But
Bro,
yeah, unfortunately, I don't have an ultrasound machine. But
yeah, you got to give it up. You got to give it up to Socrates. There's not too many people on this earth like Socrates, and you know exactly what I mean, because Socrates has rolled over to your pad, has or has helped you sex multiple snakes. Like, he's there to help you. Like, he's a homie. You feel me? Like, he's a special guy. Dude. I'm telling you right now.
Oh yeah, no, mad shout out to Socrates. He's the man.
When did you meet Sock? When did you guys cross paths?
So I think I sold Socrates a snake originally, a little red Neo. It might have actually been from that Aru female, because I think it was a Wamina Maroki Aru baby, a little red one from the first clutch of reds that I had. And he's local, so, you know, he's another Florida guy. That's what I'm saying. We got some Florida guys starting to represent. And so I sold him a snake, and then from there we just became friends and kept in touch. And he's been to my house a few times, and we've hung out in Daytona. I've met his daughter. But yeah, he's part of the Florida crew. We got him. We got Francis. We got Greg. You got Clyde Claus and Stephen Terrell on the West Coast. You got Keith Flax up kind of a little bit north of where I am. We got you guys got
Cody. You guys got Cody and Pia. That's huge right there.
You got Cody and Pia. You got Chuck Vogel. You got Tony Mall.
Off Chondro topic, you got Ron St. Pierre, which is one of my favorite monitor keepers. Just so you know, Florida's hot. I'm not gonna lie. Florida's
funny story. So funny story about Ron. My Sea Serpent's Hotbox incubator actually came from Ron. Was originally belonged to him, and I traded him at one point, and that's where my incubator came from, was from Ron. So another Florida guy.
All right, you want to keep it real quick? I have a topic I want to bring up. Reverting back to breeding. So be real with us, Ian. How many females have died due to breeding complications since you've been breeding chondros?
Oh man, of my personal females?
Just anything you've worked with personally. Just any personal females that you've had on your watch, how many have died due to breeding complications?
I wouldn't even know that number off the top of my head.
Jesus
but I can tell you it's more than one or two. And it's not just females either. I think, again, Eugene Bessell, he always had a lot of sayings. I guess he still has a lot of sayings. But another one that stuck with me is he always would say, the more animals you have, the more animals you will have that will die. And it's just a factor of being a keeper, whether it's dogs or birds or cats or fish or turtles or reptiles. Even if you work in the zoo industry, the more animals you have, the more animals you work with, the more animals you're going to have that are going to die, because you're making a commitment to that animal to see it through to the end, unless it's an animal that you're selling or shipping out. But, when you have a collection of animals, especially when it's more than one or two, but even when it's one or two, if you're going to have them for their entire life, you're going to see a lot of animals die. And unfortunately, that's part of being a keeper. And it's not just the females, and it's not just the chondros, but the animals have all kinds of complications. They have diseases, they have viruses, they have parasites, they have heart deformities, they have spinal deformities, they have deficiencies, they have fatty liver disease and heart disease, and you know what I mean? Like they die from all kinds of things. And so when you take an animal, and if you have one chondro and it's a pet chondro, you probably are going to potentially see that animal through a longer lifespan because it's a pet, right? But as soon as you take that animal and you now are using it in a breeding program, you're stressing that animal every day of the week. Look at your pet dog or your pet cat. There's a reason they say, spay and neuter your pets, because they tend to live longer when they're spayed and neutered, right?
Right.
For a whole variety of reasons, they tend to live longer. But when you have animals and it's just one animal and you're keeping it by itself, but now you've got two animals and you're introducing it now twice as many variables. And sometimes it's even just, I've had animals not interact well together, and, that can be problematic. But when you then go ahead and you're going to put them into a breeding program, especially it's year after year, you have females that have complications when they're ovulating, torn oviducts. You have animals that prolapse. You have animals that get egg bound. You have males that go off feed for really long, extended periods of time and become really weak just because, they are driven to breed and not feed. You have females that lay and then don't want to go back on food after they've laid eggs. You've got, just so many different things that are taxing them when you're breeding them that you have to expect it. And it sounds horrible, but you have to be prepared when you make that when you cross that line between having an animal that's a pet and an animal that you're using for breeding. You have to acknowledge and accept that you are trading, life expectancy, longevity for production, and you have to be okay with making that decision, because you gotta understand what you're going into.
So I got to ask you, Ian, because I feel like you're somebody who could look at a clutch and have a good idea what's going to go in what direction, and maybe what's something you want to hold back, right? But you got to admit, it does get No? Oh, you're not? Okay, well, that's good to know, because I got to ask you then, because if it's one thing I talked to Socrates a lot about certain projects, is how he, like for instance, White Diamond, right? Like he won't even consider taking offers on a White Diamond baby till like 2-3 years down the road. So what do you do with your neos? How long do you wait until you actually offer some for sale?
So, I mean, that really depends on a whole lot of things. So I believe that anybody who tells you that they can look at a baby neo and tell you what it's going to look like as an adult is probably somebody that you should question and be really thoughtful in what you believe from them. I believe when it comes to neochondros, I'm a big believer in chaos theory, only because I've seen it. You know, there is just so much variation within even just a given clutch. Sometimes you have just one animal in a clutch that just is outstanding and stands out and is a totally different phenotype than the others, and you really have no way of knowing. So that chondro that I showed you the other night, the one that's melanistic with all the black, unfortunately it's in shed and it's not in an area of the room that I can show you right now because it's dark. But
Right.
that's the only animal from that whole clutch that looks like that. And you could not have picked that animal out from all the yellow neos that were in that clutch when it was a baby. And so this is why a lot of breeders who have projects that are very phenotypically driven don't sell any of their babies. Socrates is entirely right. Because if you have 10 or 12 or 15 or 20, how do you know which one of those is going to be the one or
Right.
two that are going to be the ones that have that completely unusual phenotype? Now, there are certain things like you can look at a baby chondro and neonate and you can see a dark dorsal pattern. You can say, okay, that one's going to probably have a dark dorsal pattern. But you don't know which ones are going to have melanistic, and you don't know which ones are going to have, you know, diamonds that stay yellow versus ones that fill in with green. You just don't know. And I have sold plenty of chondros as neos blindly without knowing what they're going to look like. And then when I see pictures of them 2-3 years later, I'm like, wow, like, that's an awesome snake. I wish I hadn't sold that one. So, you know, as a breeder, you basically have two options. Either you randomly choose some that either catch your eye or have certain features that you look for that you like, or you hold them all back and you just grow them out until you can tell which ones are going to have certain looks. So that's one of those Jayapuras.
Which one? This one right here?
That one that you were just on was a Jayapura.
This one right here?
Scroll down a little bit further. Yeah, that's one of my Jayapuras.
Wait, who's SM?
So he's not on social media. It's a breeder up in the Pacific Northwest.
Nice. Okay. So let me ask you this, Ian. You know, as far as right now, how many clutches are you producing a year? And is that increasing every year, or does that stay pretty much consistent, the same number?
You know, it varies year to year. And when you say producing, you know, it really depends on what your metric of measurement is, right? Like, are we talking eggs on the ground? Are we talking hatching out neos? Are we talking about, you know, animals that are for sale? You know, not every clutch is a success. I've had clutches where I've had one single egg. I've had clutches where I've had just one single neo. I've had clutches where I've had two neos. I've had clutches where I've had 27 neos. So it you know, it varies. I think last year was a really good year, and I don't know if it's because of COVID. I haven't been traveling very much, and so maybe I'm just home more, and so I'm able to stay on top of the snakes more. But you know, last year we had 6 clutches laid of chondros. 2 of them were complete disasters, and we got nothing. One of them was a very poor clutch. I think we only ended up with maybe like half a dozen, maybe 4 or 5 out of that clutch. But we had 3 really good clutches last year as well. So, you know, it varies. You know, one of the things is you only have so much time and so much space. So, you know, I can't really produce a whole lot more than what I'm producing now, given how much space I have and how much time. Really, the time is a big part of it too, especially with the babies, getting them started.
Right.
So, and now I also have diversified. So when we first started S&J, I had nothing but chondros.
Right.
And now, you know, I don't know what the numbers are, but yeah, now I've got what 6-7 different species of arboreals going, and it's not all chondros. So
let's talk about this
split
one.
up the time and the space.
Here's a different species
there's
we haven't
northern.
talked about yet. It's a little bit of northern. You got some emeralds. You got some emeralds, don't you?
I do have some northern emeralds. No basins yet. Maybe Alan can help me change that one day. He's probably tired of me. I ask him about basins probably almost every day, it seems.
Are you a part of his Patreon page?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. You got to be a part of his Patreon page.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I've got some northerns. I've got some northerns going. I haven't produced any myself yet, but I've got a group that I've been growing up. Some of them since 2017. So hopefully here in the future, I do have some adults that are out on loan, and so do have some offspring from those, but they weren't born here, but definitely growing up some. Got a couple of really nice ones that actually were produced again in Texas. I'm sort of making my own case here for why Texas is so awesome, huh? But David Spicer over at DFW Reptarium has a really awesome big display in his shop, and he's got northern emeralds in there, and they actually produced a litter for him. This was back in 2017, I believe, and I got a pair out of that litter. Actually, David was another good friend of Forrest, and Forrest and I both got animals out of that litter. So I don't know, Stephen and Des might have animals from David as well. I'm not sure. I lost track of what happened to those. But yeah, those are some of the ones I'm growing up, and hopefully here in the next couple of years we'll be able to produce some northern emeralds as well.
All right, bro. So you have and Dylan, I don't blame you, Dylan. I'm trust me. I'm on the same page with you on this because he's packing some Sanzinia heat indeed. Some heat that's actually together. Let's talk about your Sanzinia game, my man. Why not? Because as much as I love the chondros, you know it, but not too many people have what you got going on with the Sanzinias. And, let's talk about it, man. I'm actually going to show one pair that's actually going in your favor this year, right? And that's going to be the, are they considered red, orange Sanzinias? What Sanzinias are these considered?
So there's westerns and easterns.
Okay.
The westerns are also called mandarins, which is what those are, and then the easterns are also called greens. Got to give some shout outs here to
Bill Hughes,
Dan at DM, Paul Mitzelfelt, Keith McPeak. So all those guys need to get a shout out. Really, there's been an evolution. So, like I told you the story earlier, when I met my wife, I had about 200 snakes, and a lot of it was colubrids and other boas. And then the pendulum swung when I started S&J. I had nothing but chondros. I had no other snakes at all in the entire house but chondros. And then I started talking to a lot of these guys, Paul and Keith and Bill Hughes and also Harlan Wall, and they're just all talking to me about arboreal boas. And I honestly, I'd never even seen a Sanzinia before. And I was out in Las Vegas on business, and I went and visited Bill in Las Vegas and checked out his collection, and I was just like, oh my God, these things are incredible. The face on them, the lips, like the heat pits that they have along their jaws, was like nothing like I'd ever seen in any other snake before. I was like, I gotta get some of these. And so slowly but surely, Keith and Bill and Paul and Harlan, I said they kind of brought me over to the dark side. So I diversified the collection, and one of the species that I really wanted to work with was Sanzinia. So I've got a small group of westerns, and this is the first year that any of them have been old enough to try to pair. So I did two pairings this year of westerns, and they've been locking like crazy. One pair, the female is getting really dark. She's in shed right now, and if she hasn't ovulated already, she's about to.
Little show and tell.
They've been locking like crazy.
Show and tell. Come on, let's show them. You said you could show these, right?
All right, let's see. Yeah, let's see if we can.
Drop a super chat. It's for you guys. God damn it, you're about to see a S&J fucking tour right now. Buy my burrito.
All right, remind me how I change the camera here.
You should be able to go to the settings. Go to the gear. Yep, there we go. You good. should be able to flip it. Yeah, you got it. Yep, there it
All
is.
right.
All right, here we go. S&J
So
tour.
let's
Hey, all right, hey, take the rings.
see
Hey,
here.
you take your. I'm gonna put your.
Oh, did I lose you, MJ?
No. I'm here. It's just gonna be you. But listen, can you please explain the husbandry of a Sanzinia? How do you keep them while you're showing?
Yeah, I should say that these are not really the right cages for them. These are temporary cages, and there's some new focus habitat cages that just shipped out this week that are coming. But let me show you. So I'm temporarily using basically 2x2 cubes, chondro cages, and this is one pair here. They've gotten a boreal hide up top, and then they've got another hide down below. And it is nighttime, so these guys are not used to lights being on here. But you can see this is the male down here, and then the female, she's looking mighty chunky, is up here. These cages are a bit dirty because I haven't wanted to mess with them too much. And you can see it's a little bit damp in there. I did just spray them down, this pair especially, because the female's in shed. So you can see the males up here. And you can see she's super opaque and really dark and looking pretty chunky as well.
Damn, bro, that's awesome. Now, real quick, as far as do you feed these comparatively to what you would feed an emerald tree, or like how do you feed these?
So I would compare Sanzinia to more like carpet pythons in terms of their behavior. So kind of like, I would consider them more like semi-arboreal. They're more arboreal when they're younger, and then as they get older, they become, I would say more semi-arboreal. But those are pretty hefty sized animals. It's hard to tell when they're in those cages, but they're eating medium rats at this point. Now, right now they're off feed completely. Like they don't want anything to do with feed because they've been breeding. But those are going to be going into 4-foot cages here. Well, hopefully next week when the shipment arrives from Focus Cube.
Which I'm glad you brought that up. We'll talk about that soon. But as far as the breeding process goes, you've never bred boas before, or any live litters. This would be your first live litter, correct? Or no, actually, no. Amazon boas. Never mind. I'm tripping. Go ahead. You there? Oh, you might need to exit out. You there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you might need to exit out and come back in.
Okay.
My bad, guys. Shit, cheers. I have Andrew Acevedo in the room. He's just chilling right here, just being fucking the homie and shit. We had a great day. What a day, huh? Hope you guys are having a great time. I'm having a great dude. Ian is fucking knowledgeable, man. I'm telling you right now, this guy, to be breeding chondros for this long and literally be busting out fucking, clutches like how this guy's doing. And then now we're talking about Sanzinias. We haven't talked about his Amazon boas that he breeds. And here he is right here. What's up, dude? Sorry.
All right.
You're good.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
Good.
So Amazon boas.
Those aren't the first boas.
Right.
Yeah. So when I was in Gainesville, I had bred Candoya. I had bred rosy boas. I bred a lot of sand boas. And
right.
And so I had experience with live bearers previously. I also had bred a lot of Nerodia water snakes, which also are live bearers.
That's
so
cool.
I had quite a bit of experience with live bearers, but I hadn't worked with any arboreal boas. So Amazon tree boas, yep, there you go. So that's Corallus hortulanus, and been really kind of hooked on those as well. So some of the same guys, Harlan Wall and Keith McPeak and John Martin and Rory. Who else? Just a lot of guys. Dayton. There were a lot of guys working with Amazon tree boas. Marshall works with them as well, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah, dude. Yep.
I just really got hooked on Amazon tree boas. I've got probably ask Socrates because he helped me sex them all. He's like, you got way too many of these things. They just keep coming.
Oh, trust me, I know. I know.
Just so many different phenotypes, and you know, the color palette is almost.
Where'd he go? Ian. Speak up, doggy. Oh, Ian's frozen. Well, look at this beautiful red Amazon tree boa produced by. Oh wait, this is produced by Ryan Young. Ian, where you at, motherfucker? Come on, let's go. Chop, chop, chop. I got fucking sushi reservations. Are you down for sushi or what? What are you trying to eat? All right, cool. We're gonna do sushi. Wait, come on. What's going on? Oh, what am I doing right now? What is going on? What is going on? Ian, you might need to dip out, bro. Come on. You're like, come on. What's going on? Oh, here he is. Kick him. Hold on 1 second. You're good.
No. Yeah,
All right,
so that's a Ryan Young animal that I'm growing out. But what I was saying is that the color palette is like the opposite of chondros. You have all these reds and calicos and bicolors and hypos. And so just like with chondros, there's a lot of different phenotypes in Amazons, and those are the ones that I really like. I really like the tigers, the calicos, the really colorful animals. So yeah, I've gotten
Dude,
really
look at
hooked on
this.
Amazon.
So this is like the Halloween phase or some shit, right? Or what do they call this? Like, this is nuts.
So that's a really unusual one. It was produced by a breeder. Her name's Jennifer Green, and not really exactly sure yet about that one. So I don't want to label it because I'm not really sure yet. I've got a couple from that litter and then a couple from this year's litter, and going to be playing with those over the next couple of years and see what those end up producing and turning out. But yeah, that animal's a real stunner.
Damn, dude. Big homie William. Dude, William, I hope I see you at a fucking reptile show soon because I'm buying you whatever you want. I know you like to eat, but my homie William Philpeck, I hope I said your name right, Philpeck, but he has a question, okay? So I would love to hear more about your Corralis annulatus. Ooh, annulatus group that he has. Like, how many do you have? What colored phases do you have? And are you breeding any this year? And like what the bloodlines are. So basically backgrounds on your annulateds, please.
Yeah, so I do have some annulateds. They are up here. Let's see. There's one in this cage and there's one in this cage. So I've got a couple different color morphs. So I've got a male that's like a bright orange color. He's on our page. You can pull him up there, MJ, if you want. And that's a Tim Morris animal. And then I've got a couple what they would call normals that are produced by Terry Burwell. And so I did pair one of the females last year, and I saw some copulation, and I thought maybe we were going to get some babies, but nothing ever came of it. So I am going to pair them again this year.
Wait. Where are we at right now? I'm sorry. What are we pulling up on your page?
Annulatus. I think that there's a picture of that male towards the top.
Right here.
there.
Here's one right here. Let's go internet. Ooh, yeah. No, this is Amazon. Right? I'm tripping. No, that almost looked like one though. Am I tripping? It almost does a little bit.
No, that's an Amazon female.
All right, hold on. He said no. All right, hold on. So go down more?
I would go towards the top. Is that our Instagram page? Yeah, go towards the top.
Let's see.
It's like a horizontal picture.
Ooh, wait, no. Oh.
Right there.
Right here.
Just
this one?
it.
This one? No, wait.
Nope.
This one?
That one. Yep.
What the fuck, bro? I don't remember these being this red. Wow,
yeah.
dude. Holy shit.
So that's a Tim Morris male annulatus. So here's the thing about annulated tree boas, and I don't know why it is with the annulateds compared to other tree boas, but they change color daytime versus nighttime big time. Jeez. So for instance, like the normals are oftentimes kind of a brown tannish color during the day, but at night they're like a silvery, like gunmetal, almost white sometimes. And so they really seem to kind of fire up at night, and their color can be dramatically different daytime to nighttime. So that's one of our males there, and then I've got a couple of females that are from Terry Burwell. And so the answer, I think, was it William who asked the question there. I did try to breed them last year. I had copulation, but nothing came of it. So hoping to try again this year. Fingers crossed.
I gotta ask you this now. Okay, here's the thing, Ian. You know damn well how easy it is to get your hands into so many things when you first come into this, especially when money's not a fucking deal. Like if you got money, you can fucking get whatever you want. You know that, right? But what's your recommendation for somebody getting their hands in so many different species when they're just now getting into reptiles for the first time? Like, how do you really recommend somebody getting their feet wet when wanting to work with multiple species, if that makes sense?
So I think it really depends on, you have to decide sort of early on, like, are you, as an individual, is your interest more in being a keeper or being a breeder? Because those are two very different paths. And I've been on both sides of that fence at different times in my life. And both of them have pros and cons, and good things about being a keeper and bad things, and good things about being a breeder and bad things. So, if you want to be a keeper, it's a lot easier to work with a lot of different species.
Right.
If you're a breeder, I think that less is more. And for me, I think that's part of why I have been successful with chondros, is because I went from having a very diversified collection to having nothing but chondros for several years. And so everything I did was focused in on one species and one species only. And it was only after we had several years in a row of producing chondros, and I felt like I had kind of dialed things in to a reasonable level, that I started messing around with other species. And the thing is that when you're going to breed, there's a learning curve. And so if you're trying to breed lots of different species, you're on a lot of different learning curves at the same time. And you also are trying to accommodate a lot of different husbandry requirements at the same time. So versus if you're working with one species or a group of very similar species, then the husbandry becomes a lot more uniform. And especially if you're maintaining a large collection, the more uniform your husbandry can be across multiple species and across lots of animals, the more efficient it is, and the easier it becomes as a keeper or as a breeder. So I think a lot of it just depends on, as an individual person, like, what is your interest? Is your interest in being a breeder or being a keeper? How much time do you have to dedicate to it? How much space do you have to dedicate to it? Because what a lot of times you don't realize is also, like, okay, I'm going to be a chondro breeder, so I'm going to get 2 chondros. Well, then what happens when something happens to one of them? Like, now you don't have 2 adults anymore. So that if you really want a breeder, you need multiple males and multiple females, and that requires more space. And then you have babies, and okay, well, now I need a baby rack, and okay, now I'm going to hold some back. Now I need a holdback rack, and now you do that for several years. You have a whole room full of animals. So it really depends on what do you want to do as an individual, and what do you want to do as far as with your animals. Because that's another thing is I don't think people always think about is, okay, you have some chondros, you hatch out some chondros, now you got a bunch of babies. Like, do you have the time to dedicate to start, 10
like,
15
okay,
or 20 baby
dude,
chondros?
Hey, good point, Ian. Do you realize what's to come if these fucking snakes come out of the eggs?
That's the hardest part. The hardest part is dealing with baby chondros.
And it's funny, like, I've only had a deal with 2 neonates and only one that ended up with Socrates. And dude, RIP, he just hit the freezer. Chapo 2.0. We had to put him down. Bro, he fucking, check this out. Socrates assists okay, hold up, slow down. Socrates said, give me that fucking snake. I'll get that snake to eat. I was like, okay, no problem. Ship that snake over to him. A year and 3 months later, okay, he's still assist feeding, but hold on. He got it to take, and as soon as it took, it prolapsed.
Oh.
Done. And guess what? I guess he didn't tell me this, but it prolapsed twice on him, bro. I said, bro, put that fucking thing in the freezer right now. He's done. He's done. God bless him. My second production ever made. But look what kind of friend Socrates is, dude. He didn't God. That's why I love him, man. I wish I could hug him right now. But bro, honestly, he tried everything he could to keep that snake alive. Bill wanted that snake. It came to either sending it to Bill or Socrates. That was really difficult to do. But Socrates was my life coach, and dude, listen, at the end of the day, he got it to strike. This snake wouldn't even strike for me. This snake was fucking just long gone from the get-go, bro. I don't think it was ever meant to be on this earth. And somehow, whatever, I don't know. So that's why it's when I asked you that question about assist feeding, Ryan Young, I had Ryan Young on the show, and Ryan Young, he waits he's opposite of you. He'll let it shed and wait 3 weeks after that thing shed. He'll get that thing fucking hungry as fuck before he offers it a meal. And if it doesn't eat, he doesn't believe in assist feeding. If it doesn't eat, it's gone. That's his regiment.
They're not all meant to survive, right? In the wild, they don't all survive, and in captivity, they're not all meant to survive either. And we as keepers and breeders and people, we visually assess that animal looks perfectly healthy. You have no idea what's going on inside of it neurologically or with its heart and its circulatory system. You can't see any of that stuff that's going on inside. And especially when we're breeding large numbers of animals, not as individuals, but collectively over the course of a year, they're not all meant to survive. They're not all going to survive. And it's okay if they don't all survive. We want to make sure that the animals that we're putting out there and that are going to be for future generations are the strongest animals that are the most adapted to survive in captivity. If that animal is going to need to be assist fed for the rest of its life, it's not going to do well in captivity long term.
Ian, this is off topic, but growing up, well, I don't want to say growing up, but as I've been an adult, me, my background is sales, but everyone has told me I've been a good salesman my entire life. And I never really understood what they meant by that. I'm talking about my aunt, my uncles, just told me you're good at sales. And I never understood that until I met you. And Ian, you are born a salesman, bro. And you want to know you and I could link this all the way to fucking Southeast Carpet Fest. Is that right? Southeast Carpet Fest, which you took very serious, by the way. And God bless you. Should. This is for NITO. This is for NITO test experience. But dude, I'm telling you, man, you have a niche as far as getting people to want to go ahead and buy in with what you're trying to sell. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, I am in sales professionally. That's my daytime job. And I'm a believer that everyone is selling something every day. Most of us are selling ourselves, but everyone's a salesman. Right. I don't believe in the whole used car salesman mentality, but I think that everyone is selling something every day. And, it's just a matter of how you look at things.
I mean, I could tell you it's just because, what was it? The last Southeast Carpet Fest raised how much? $30,000?
Something like that. I don't remember. That was right before the pandemic. It was at Cody and Pia's place, Reptile Preservation Institute up in Melrose, Florida. It was there 2 years in a row. It was actually at Dave Palumbo's place the first year. I don't know if you know Dave. You should check his stuff out.
He's a buff awesome guy, right? But does he what does he work with? I mean, I know he works with ball pythons. Am I right? But what does he work with altogether? I mean, can you kind of fresh me up with that?
So he works with a lot of different species. I mean, he's got turtles and he's got some different lizards. He's got, I think, some different boas. Not an arboreal guy. I keep telling him he needs some chondros. But yeah, he hosted the first Southeast Carpet Fest, and then we were at Cody and Pia's place for 2 years as well. So we did that 3 years in a row, and we raised, I don't remember the number, maybe Pia or Cody can chime in, but I think we raised across 3 years, I think it was close to $100,000 between what we raised for USARC and what we raised for nidovirus research, and that was at the University of Florida, the University of Georgia, and also Justin Julander up at Utah State as well, and also worked with the folks at Fishhead Labs on that also.
So I mean, like, knock on wood, but you've not had to deal with Nido, correct? Or have you? Have you? What's your experiment with experience with Nido?
Well, I think we've all had to deal with Nido, either indirectly or directly. And I think that one of the challenges with keeping chondros, maybe not early on, but certainly, in the last 10 or 15 years, has been dealing with Nido oftentimes before we knew what Nido was. There was no name for it. People just said like, oh, well, chondros, they just die. Like, that's just what they do. They'll drop dead on you for no reason. And that is true. Sometimes it seems like they drop dead on you for no reason, but I think a lot of it, historically probably was Nido, and maybe still is Nido. And I think part of the problem is that we're just at the very tip of the iceberg in learning about it, and that's why it was so important to raise that money to fund that research. I don't know if you've had him on the show or not, but Stephen Tillis is doing a lot of great research at the University of Florida with Dr. Oswald there, and developing the cell lines to answer some of the questions that we want answered. But Nido is not something new, and it's not something unique to green tree pythons. It's probably been in ball pythons and carpet pythons and retics and berms, as well as other species. They found it in tortoises and shinglebacks. So I think we all have had to deal with Nido, whether we know it or not. And I've been working with Socrates to develop a testing protocol. He seems to have one of the best testing protocols out there, and working with him to develop those protocols that I use here. And I have had some customers that have requested animals be Nido tested before they ship out as well. And so I think it's something that maybe personally I didn't put as much credence into as I should have historically. It just viruses in general. I think like in veterinary medicine, there's a saying like, always look for the horses, not the zebras, something to that effect. And I always thought viruses were the things that, were the least likely to be a problem. But obviously, having learned from the last 2 or 3 years of COVID, viruses are a big deal, and they can be a big deal, and they can be very problematic. And so I think that it's something that we have to take a lot more serious going forward.
Now, let me ask you this, because if it's one thing, Sock taught me so much about Nido testing. And honestly, like, Nido testing isn't just one thing you test once. Like, you need multiple Nido testing to be sure that something doesn't have Nido, right? To really Nido test something. And at the end of the day, like, he kind of just fucking imprinted in my mind, either you Nido test or you fucking don't Nido test. But there's no like in between fucking like either you do it the fucking way he does it, which that's how or you don't fucking do it because you're just wasting your time and waiting to see what happens. And honestly, like, at the end of the day, man, like, I don't know, man. I mean, I respect the fact that whatever Socrates has preached and talked to me about, he lives, and he is very protocol to the fucking T. And I don't know. I feel like that's just kind of being able to be on top of your shit. And that's why, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just, I feel like that's a step you can't look over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you have a large collection, and especially with, when you start to get into higher dollar animals, some of the designer chondros, the basins, you really got to be super careful about things. Again, going back to what we said earlier, that's why you don't see a lot of these animals at shows, because the risk of taking these animals around so many other animals. But to your point about, testing, I think COVID should be, something that we at least learn from in the reptile community, because it's a very similar virus to Nido, or, well, it's really called serpentavirus now. But as much as there are still a lot of questions that we're trying to learn about, these are the things that we raise the money to fund, to answer the questions. How is it transmitted? How long can it survive in a cage? What's the best way to kill it? What's the best way to clean? all of these types of questions, we still need to know, we need more knowledge to really know what it means from a husbandry standpoint and how we protect our collections. But just in terms of the testing as a diagnostic tool, look at COVID testing. You can't say, I got a COVID test, I'm good to go forever, right? Like, you can't get a COVID test on a Monday and then spend your whole week out and about doing whatever you want. And then on Friday, say, I'm going to go see my grandma at the nursing home, but it's cool, I got a COVID test last Monday, right? Like, so it's the same thing in your collection. I mean, you have a group of animals and they're in all their different cages and tubs, but if you're a breeder and now you're moving them around and you're introducing them to each other and you're working with different animals, is one test sufficient? Probably not. But I also believe that you can't test your way out of a problem. And whether it be COVID or it be serpentivirus or nidovirus, you have to have a multi-hurdle approach. And so that's what I've always thought about. And so while I'm learning more about how to develop a testing program like Socrates has, I have for many years now implemented more preventative measures from a husbandry standpoint and especially a sanitation standpoint.
Right.
I remember being at a Tinley show and I was standing there and I think it was John Irby and Dave D and Rod Love maybe, and we were joking, and Kenai from Chicago as well. And we were joking about tongs, like how many pairs of tongs do you have?
Oh, you kidding me, bro?
Right?
Dude, okay, the first thing I paid it. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, Ian, but the first thing that caught my attention out of all the beautiness walking into Socrates' room, and this is like pre his new room, this is his old room, is like I see a fucking stack of forceps on his, I'm talking piled up, but there's also forceps individually on every single row. Dude, this guy had forceps everywhere.
Yep.
I was like,
yep.
I couldn't believe it.
You want to know if someone is serious about sanitation and husbandry? Look at how many pairs of forceps they have. Look at how much hand sanitizer they go through. Look at how many pairs of gloves they go through. So I use a lot of gloves, but I also use a lot of hand sanitizer. I've got a lot of forceps. It's little things like that. So, and it doesn't have to be nido. There's other viruses. There's other, pathogens. There's other germs in general. And so I think it goes down, it starts with the basics, right? Like, what is the cost of a frozen thawed mouse when one snake doesn't eat it and you have to throw it in the garbage versus giving it to another snake? I know that's wasteful, but I never offer a food item to one animal. If it doesn't eat it, it goes in the garbage. I don't offer that to anyone else. I use tongs, same thing, like every row of cages, every row of babies, every rack has their own tongs, their own forceps, every clutch, different forceps. I clean that stuff all the time. I've got a fortune in stainless steel just for that purpose. And so I think that even whether you test for nido or not, you have to think about it in terms of general husbandry, general sanitation. There's lots of other germs out there. And so you really are looking at it, unfortunately, I hate to minimize it, but it's herd maintenance. It's really, you're managing the collection. And so one of the basic things is cutting down on the transmission of germs. And the way you do that is don't share food items, don't share feeding utensils, wash your hands a lot or use gloves. And those are just basic things that help prevent germs.
Do you fucking soak your rodents in a big fucking bucket of water and serve everyone some soup of rats? Or how do you, I'm sorry, but I hate that fucking method of fucking feeding snakes. But is that how you feed them? You do, huh?
No. So my babies, so pinkies. First of all is all the rodents that I thaw out in water are thawed out in deli cups that are disposed of afterwards, right? So I never reuse anything. I do like soaking rodents in water for animals that need that extra hydration, females that have just laid, animals that are, going into shed. There are some instances, but for me, I generally feed on Saturdays. And so Friday night before I go to bed, I take all that stuff out of the freezer and I lay it all out on a big cookie sheet, and then it's thawed out by the next morning. For babies, for like pinkies, fuzzies, maybe up to hopper size, I will thaw those out in deli cups in hot water. But I don't do like the big 5-gallon bucket with, you know, a whole bunch of rodents in it making soup. I don't do
That
that.
makes me so angry. And luckily, I have snakes. Like, you know, you understand. I've had rodents that accidentally got wet for some reason, and I have snakes that just don't want it, and I don't blame them. If I want a fucking filet mignon, I don't want it soaking wet. Like, I fucking want that shit fucking beefed up, you know. But I don't know. I overthink things too. That's just me. Like, I honestly talk to my animals, which a lot of people don't. But I mean, whatever. I'm just. What are you gonna
For
do?
some animals, I like the hydration. For emeralds, I like the heat factor.
Right.
Emeralds compared to chondros I think chondros are a lot more visual, and I think emeralds are a lot more heat signature oriented in terms of feeding response. So a lot of times I find that an emerald that won't feed on frozen thawed, if you stick it in some hot water and get that rodent really hot and you go back and offer it, it just goes right for it right afterwards.
Now, as far as your Emerald Tree Boa game goes, how far are you from pairing up and breeding? Well, let's just kind of get that out of the way real quick. Like, how far are we from hopefully looking at some S&J Emerald Tree Boa productions here?
I would say we're probably still at least a year or two off.
Okay,
So
cool.
they grow really slow. So the oldest animals I have here are 2017s.
Right.
Like I said, I do have some adult animals that are out on loan that could produce some babies even this year. They've produced the last couple of years, actually. But the oldest emeralds I have here are 2017, so maybe another year or two.
Awesome. All right, so I have a wrap-up question for you before we get into the hot seat questions, okay, Ian? And I don't want you to hold back on this because this is coming from somebody
All right.
with a lot of
All
experience.
right, let's go.
All right. Listen, at the end of the day, there's one big fucking drive in hobbies in America, and it's the reptile hobby. Okay. Reptile hobby is blowing up. A lot of that is credit to the ball python game, bro. It really is. Because I'm telling you, I just see it firsthand that a lot of people come into the ball python game and they realize that they love it, but they're like me. They want to get into other things, right? They want to fucking make money. And yeah, I'm talking about money. They want to make money maybe elsewhere than ball pythons because at the end of the day, if you're in ball pythons, you're making money. That's what you're for. But what is your, I guess, advice to anyone out there thinking or having hopes and dreams of getting into chondros in a profit?
Start off with a lot of money.
Tell me more.
I think that the advice that I would give for somebody who wants to get into breeding chondros is the same advice that I would give to somebody who wants to keep chondros. Do your research, do your homework, find a breeder, and befriend them. So Steven Saltzman always talks about this on Facebook. I know you guys don't always see eye to eye on things, but you know he preaches all the time.
I can't believe you just said that guy's fucking name right now, to be honest. But go ahead and finish, Ian. Go ahead. I'll let you finish, okay? After you just disrespect the shit out of my goddamn podcast like that. Go ahead.
So he preaches all the time, and you know all the other guys will tell you the same thing: is find that chondro breeder that's local to you, or find that chondro breeder that you connect with, and befriend them. You need to have a mentor in this game in order to be successful. And I don't think that that's necessarily unique to chondros. I don't think it's unique to reptiles. I don't think it's unique to ball pythons. I think if you want to be successful, you need to have somebody that you learn from who's already successful. You know, I often say that with chondros, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. You know, I talk about Eugene Bessell a lot, but there's a lot of other guys. You know, obviously Rico Walder, obviously Trooper Walsh, but you know, there's a lot of guys that figured out how to keep these animals, and the things that didn't work as well as the things that worked that came before us. And so there's so much knowledge out there. But what I see time and time again is people go to a show, they see something that catches their eye, they make that impulse buy, they buy it, then they get home, and what's the first thing they do? They post online, hey, I just bought this green tree python or whatever species you want to insert. You know, I need help. What do I need for it? What should I buy? What kind of setup does it need? Like people, it doesn't seem like people go into it with the right mindset of doing their homework, doing their research up front, and then befriend somebody who's done it already. Learn from their mistakes, learn from their successes. You know, and you may have to pay your dues a little bit. You may have to clean some cages or volunteer some of your time, but you will learn so much and you will avoid so many pitfalls. And I think the other thing with chondros in particular is there's a ton of information on the old MVF forum. So, you know, people should go check that out. And there's just so much information out there from the guys who have come before us and who've been successful and unsuccessful that we can learn from all of that information. And I think that's the key. I don't think it's unique to chondros. I mean, it could be chondros, it could be Sanzinia, it could be Amazons, it could be ball pythons, it could be monitors. You know, go find somebody who's been successful with that species, because chances are, unless your first snake into the breeding world is like a Bolinized python or something like that, you're going to be working with a species that someone else has been successful with, or at least someone else has worked with. And most people are pretty open and willing to share their experiences with you if you're willing to put in the time to develop a relationship.
That's pretty solid, but I'm going to go ahead and cap that answer to the wrap-up question to Steven Saltzman. Saltman? Is it Saltyman or Saltzman? How do you say it? What is it?
I think it's Saltzman. He's another Texas guy.
Yeah, fight me. That's all I gotta say. I want to fight him. I want to meet up with you, and I want to fight you. And if you don't want to fight and you want to be cool somehow, then become a Patreon member. That's the only way. Only two ways me and you will ever become homies. Either I fight you and do what I gotta do to you, or you become a Patreon member. That's it. That's all I gotta say. Listen, Ian, bro, this has been an amazing. Listen, I really need at least 2 more hours of this, because how much information you are. And the good news is, Ian, I know you are round 2, round 3, round 4 worthy. You are a guy of wealth of information. Your knowledge is through the roof, bro. I'm telling you right now, Ian, you are somebody who's going to be really helpful to not only, I mean, you've been helpful to me, but a lot of people who really want to be in your shoes are going to be able to do it if they are in your, you know, I guess in your good graces. But I mean, I don't know. I guess, what do you have to say to anyone who really is trying to buy a snake from you? Like, how can they get a snake from S&J? Like, what's the best way about that?
So, you know, if you're looking for more information about our animals, you can find us on social media, Facebook and Instagram. We also have a Morph Market page. Right now, we do have some 2021 animals available. We've got a few Amazon tree boas, and we do have some green tree pythons still available from a couple of different unrelated clutches. We haven't been shipping since before the holidays, between the holidays and the weather and FedEx, but we are hoping to start shipping again here soon, weather dependent. So if you are looking to acquire an animal from us, just hit us up. You can reach me on, like I said, Facebook, Instagram. We do have a website, but we don't really update the website all that often. Probably Instagram, Facebook, and Morph Market is a good place. We do have animals on Morph Market, but we've got more animals available than what's posted there currently. So just send us a message if you're interested in something. And if we don't have what you're looking for now, we can get you on the wait list for something down the line.
But like, realistically, for a chondro, like 1 year chondros is about a wait for as far as how long you think realistically?
Well, right now we do have some chondros available right now, but it just depends on what you're looking for. You know, if you're looking for a particular...
So there's S&J availability right now as we speak, is what you're saying. Dude,
there is. We are not sold out of 2021s yet.
Get over there. Let's go. Everyone get over to S&J's website or Instagram. Instagram's the best way, you would say, right?
Instagram or Facebook or Morph Market. Just send us a message and we can send you our full availability. Like I said, we're not sold out of 2021s yet, but we have sold out of chondros every year since 2014. So I certainly expect, especially as the weather warms up and we're shipping more, that the remaining 2021s will probably all sell rather quickly.
Damn, dude. Honestly, I was gonna try to wait and maneuver this into the hot seat question somehow, but my boy Jake just dropped the question, and then we're just gonna ask it pre-hot seat questions because I want to know from Ian Bessell, why are red neos more than yellows?
That's a really good question. I don't think that there's necessarily a good answer to it. I sometimes wonder if Trooper Walsh liked yellows better than reds. Would we all fight over yellows instead of reds? I think for me personally, for a long time, I couldn't produce reds. I used to joke that I was cursed with all yellows. But I think that part of it is just that the reds are more sought after. And so it seems like people have this belief that only red neos will produce, especially high blue or melanistic looks. If you go check out Mark Hager's page, another Texas guy, Texas Chondros, he's got some awesome melanistic animals that were yellow neos, and he likes to post those up and make people guess if they're red or yellow. I think that there is a little bit of a perception that certain phenotypes will come out of red neos more than yellows, but quite frankly, I like them all. I think some of the yellow ones are just as stunning as the red ones, but a lot of the designer lines, especially the Trooper Walsh blue line designer stuff, a lot of those animals traditionally have come from red neos, and so there just seems to be a big desire and demand for red neos, and so they generally do demand a higher price.
Epic. Now, before I'm sorry, I want to get to the hot seat questions bad, but what's up with your YouTube account? Are you still active on that? Are you still posting stuff on YouTube? I think you mentioned something earlier, but I can't recall. But do you have plans with YouTube? What's going on with that?
Yeah, we still post on YouTube. I think it's not a social media platform that we have put as much energy and time into
Ian,
as we could.
Ian, what would you do? What would you do if you pass the ropes over to Jonah, right? Like, let's say Jonah took over S&J and he changed the YouTube channel to S&J Yachts. What would you do?
Hey, the yacht business is good.
No, I'm just saying, what if he was really owning yachts? Like, what if he was really just in the yacht business?
I'd be totally fine with that. No, if he's into yachts, I'd be totally down with that. My problem is that right now, if I gave Jonah the S&J website, he'd probably turn it all into Legos and Minecraft. That kid is all about Legos and Minecraft at the moment.
That's not it. This is the channel right here, guys. Please go follow S&J Reptiles on YouTube. Because you've been grinding, bro. You gotta admit, YouTube's a grind. Shout out to Gary Shavino, man, because Gary is I feel like Gary is somebody YouTube's been missing content from somebody like Gary, bro. You gotta understand how many people fiend for information like that. So shout out to Gary, but man, YouTube's not easy to do. You gotta be really consistent with that shit, bro.
Yeah, it's hard. I've got a day job, I've got a side hustle, I've got 2 kids, I've got a wife. You only have so many hours in the day, and I got to give a shout out. My wife does a lot of our social media stuff, so she teaches me how to navigate some of this millennial stuff.
What's your wife's
YouTube
first
just
name?
hasn't been something. My wife's first name is Elise.
Elise. Okay. Elise, if you're listening to this, I just want to say right now, you are a huge, if not the biggest piece to S&J. Thank you so much. That's all I got to say. Elise is killing it. You are inspiration to many wives out there. Big time. And husbands. Husbands who, because listen, there's wife keepers who are more about it than the husband is. So, there is a flip side. But listen, Ian, hot seat question time, and I'm really scared about the hot seat questions because I know you like to explain. I know you like to explain yourself with every answer, but I don't have time for that. B, just do your best. But if you have to explain something, I get it, because Ian does not like the fucking, I get Ian's very on top of his shit. So hot seat questions for Ian Bessell, S&J Reptiles. Are you ready, Ian?
All right, let's go.
All right, here we go.
I'm ready. Hit me.
Coming in hot. Here we go. Frozen thought or live?
Frozen thought.
Egg cut or no cut?
Say again?
Egg cut or no cut?
Oh, I always cut after the first pip. Never before.
Okay, respect. So egg cut.
Yep.
Red Neo or yellow Neo?
Ooh. I don't know. That's like picking my favorite kid.
Figure it out. Samantha or Jonah?
I got to say yellow. Yellow is my first love.
Who would be the yellow Neo, Samantha or Jonah?
Oh, can't do it. Can't do it. No way. My kids will play it back in 20 years and blackmail me. No way. Trick question.
Okay, but dude, things change. Dude, like, dude, I was a favorite all the time, but dude, things could change. As of right now, who would be the red Neo? Come on. Who
No.
would be the
No.
Okay.
Not gonna do it.
Okay.
No way.
Dangerous grounds. Okay. Yay imports or boo imports?
I'm okay with imports as long as you know what you're getting into.
Okay, as far as incubation temps, straight bake or no straight bake?
Straight bake.
All right. To spray a chondro or to not spray a chondro?
Totally spray. I spray them all.
Yes sports or no sports?
What do you mean? Yes sports or no sports?
Like, yay, like, are you cool? Like, do you like sports or you don't like sports?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, favorite sport?
College football. Go Gators.
Okay. Go Gators. Okay, cool. Steak or fish?
Fish.
Big flexor or no flexor?
No flexor.
That's fucking cap. Oh my god. That is cap. Okay. All right. Van Halen or Sammy Hagar?
Oh, Van Halen.
Nirvana or Sublime?
Nirvana.
Not. Oh, wow. Okay, respect. You were in 90s was deep for you. Okay, hold on. Little word is wait, hold on. West Coast rap or East Coast rap?
Oh, West Coast.
West Coast. Okay. Little word association. First thing to come to mind. Milk.
Duds.
Cocoa.
Beans.
Substrate.
Newspaper.
Stuck shed.
Soak.
Day 60.
Oh shit.
Most legendary chondro breeder of all time.
Rico Walder.
Woo! I love it. Yeah. Oh my god. Most missed homie of all time.
Ooh. My dad.
Oh, respect. Honest, dude.
Yeah.
God damn it. I love you. Second most missed homie of all time.
Forrest.
I love you for it. That's all I want. You know he's watching this right now. God damn it. God bless his ass. You know, God, I don't want to get emotional, but listen. And okay, hold on. Before I end okay, let's end the hot seat questions. If you had to get rid of one platform, Ian, and one platform forever, what platform are you going to get rid of? Instagram or Facebook? Which one has to go?
Instagram.
What? Dude, what do you mean?
We started on Facebook. Yeah, we started on Facebook way before Instagram. We have a lot more followers on Facebook than we do Instagram. But it could just be that, you know, Facebook is where we started and maybe that's why. But that's tough if I had to choose. I get rid of YouTube before I get rid of either one. I get rid of our website before I get rid of either one.
You kept it cool this entire time. So my very, very, very last hot seat question is coolest reptile podcast of all time.
Oh, come on. We don't even have to debate that, right? It would be what's that one with Desiree and Steven called?
Oh, you're gonna go unfiltered? Oh shit. Oh my god. Desiree's gonna love this.
Of course she is. I gotta give Des and Steven a little bit of love.
And you know what, dude, honestly, I'm glad you said that because that was me and Forrest. And I'm, you know, as much as dude, it's really hard to go to these shows not knowing that I'm going to meet up with Forrest. You know what I mean? And I could tell you that I hope this whole COVID shit could calm down where we could go to shows together more because Ian, I didn't know exactly what kind of person you were until I met you in person. And that really made me like, I fucking loved you as a homie. Like, I was like, dude, this guy is somebody like me. But, you know, behind the camera, you're such a fucking father figure. And I love that. Like, you are you're about your father business, dude. But at the end of the day, I know what kind of person Ian Bessell is. You're a real deal guy. And it's all because of Forrest bringing me to you. And we all have him to thank, bro. But what do you have to say to all your supporters, bro? Because listen, I've had a lot of people excited about this episode. We had about 70 people tapped in at one point. We have about 70 likes. Okay. We had a lot of people supporting this right now, man. What do you have to say to all your supporters, Ian?
I appreciate everybody's support. I think that one of the things that is really cool about keeping and breeding chondros is the chondro community. I've always enjoyed being part of it, and it's got a long history, a lot of really amazing people, not just the animals, but the people as well. And that's really something that's special about the chondro community. And the reptile community as a whole is a special group of people, but the friends and the connections that I've made through the chondro community have just been amazing. And that's why I like going to shows around the country. That's why I like going to Carpet Fest around the country, is getting to meet all those people. And I know we had a lot of them on the line tonight. And, you know, a lot of them have supported me for many years breeding, and hopefully will continue to. And a lot of them have taught me a lot, and I've learned from them. And that's really a big part of why I enjoy working with chondros is the community of people that work with them. So
Well,
thank you to everybody.
I want to say thank you, Ian, for making the chondro community worth being a part of. Because goddamn right, it's not an easy community to be a part of all the time. Like sometimes you got to, you got to deal with some shit. But listen, you're one of the front men I look at when it comes to the chondro community. So, and it's well deserved, Ian. You're somebody who's been dedicated and loyal to your projects, and it's been showing. That's it. So thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. I cannot wait to have you. I have a feeling our next podcast will be in person. Call me crazy, but I feel like the next time I have you on this show, we're gonna be next to each other. No homo. But
maybe Daytona weekend at Socrates' new place.
Oh shit, I heard he's like selling VIP wristbands. I heard like it's like a club to get into that place right now. I don't.
You got to be like a Patreon member just to get in line.
Something.
Velvet rope.
He even had me fill out an application. I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens." But listen, Ian, enjoy the rest of your night. Have a good time with your family. Tell your wife thank you for everything that she does. And dude, I would love to have her on the next show. That'd be awesome. Fuck.
Well, she's got some stories to tell. That's for sure.
We both would. You know what I mean. But listen, thank you. Have a good night, Ian. I appreciate you so much, bro.
Yeah, have fun at Pomona. Send my regards to everybody on the West Coast.
Respect, bro. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Sounds good.
Ian Bessell, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you tapping in. Do the likes through the roof. If you happen to come in later on in the episode and forgot to hit that like button before it ends. I greatly appreciate it. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys liked. Let me know what you think about S&J Reptiles. Let me know what you think about chondros. Let me know what you think about keeping chondros, keeping emeralds, all sorts of stuff. But guys, like I said, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. I will tap into you guys soon. And don't forget, this Sunday, we are tapping in with the day one homies. That's right. I got my boys, Stephen Cush, Andrew Acevedo. I think Desiree Monat is going to even be tapping in, but we're going to have a sick-ass crew all ready to rock and roll this Sunday. So go down the link, set that reminder, tap in. Coolest Reptile podcast in the world. You guys know what the motherfucking deal is. I'm out. I'm going to go kick with some fucking day one homies and get super lit. Yay!